Thank you.
We have the pledge and the prayer, and we'll move forward to a proclamation at this time.
A proclamation declaring September 14, 2017 as Captain Mark Cicado Day in the parish of Plaquemines. Councilmember Juneau.
Yes, will you please come forward, Captain?
A proclamation proclaiming September 14, 2017 as Captain Mark Cicado Day in the parish of Plaquemines. Whereas in May 2017, the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base hosted the Blue Angels Air Show. And whereas Plaquemines Parish Council and Plaquemines Parish President wish to thank Captain Cicado, the Naval Air Station Joint Reserve Base, and the Blue Angels for putting on a wonderful air show. And whereas the Blue Angels Air Show supported and promoted Plaquemines Parish. Now therefore be it proclaimed by the Plaquemines Parish Council, represented by its duly authorized chairman, John L. Bartholomew, and by concurrence of the parish president, Amos Cormier, representing the Plaquemines Parish government, that it hereby declares September 14, 2017 as Captain Mark Cicado Day in the parish of Plaquemines.
Councilman Juneau, your offer?
Yes.
I will request a unanimous second, please, by all council members to the table. If there is no objection, so be honored. Mr. Juneau?
Yes, thank you so much, Captain. We appreciate everything you do for us. And hearing in plain slide every day makes me feel safe and sound. And the President's going to give you the proclamation. Stand up and give him a prayer.
I'd like to get a photograph of council. We'll make our comments really out.
Mr. Black?
Yeah, Captain, I just want to say I appreciate everything that that you and the military does for this community. It is quite well received. I hope that we are just as good of hosts to you as you are tenants to us. So we appreciate that, and we hope the air show comes back again. It was a beautiful weekend that weekend. I can remember it, and definitely had no issues with any noise. It was a good time. So thank you so much, and I appreciate what you guys do for this community. Thank you.
That's all? Repeat?
Okay, thank you. I wasn't recognized. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, no problem.
Thank you, Captain Cicado, for your commitment to the military, also your strong commitment to Plaquemines Parish. I myself worked out on the naval base, and I know there was every 2 years there was a turnover ratio of a captain. I don't know how much longer you have left here. I was hoping it would be a little bit longer, but about a year. About a year. But it has been a pleasure working with you. Not to say that the other captains were not very workable, but you have been a joy, a pleasure to confront and speak on all the issues. So thank you, Captain Cicado.
Captain, it's always an honor and a privilege just to think a military person in this day and time, in lieu of all everything that's happening in the country and around the nation. I take honor in just commending you for a great job. Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your service to the country as well as to Plaquemines Parish, and it's been a pleasure having you here to represent the military and to work with you.
Yeah, I also, Captain, would like to thank you for your service as well as your engagement in the community. You've been involved, and I think that it makes a difference when we have the captain from the base being involved in the community. It opens lines of communications that sometimes aren't there. So thank you again for the air show, and we look forward to the next one. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you for your service and your respect. It's very appreciated, sir. Thank you.
I'll just echo what my colleagues have said. Captain, thank you for your service, your commitment to Plaquemines Parish, and we're here to help you in anything you need from the government. Thank you.
Always a pleasure to have someone who's the guardian of our country, great nation, especially our great parish, that we appreciate not only your watch of duty, but all your support financially that y'all gave the parish and this community with the number of people that you are responsible for on base. And without a doubt, I think this is one of the best that we had in the area without any foreseeable problems or past problems that really went very smoothly in the transition. And that leads to your leadership skill and responsibilities with a very beyond approach. So I want to thank you for your services well done, and I hope your future be an abundance of all the aspirations that you have set forth for your duty and time in this military. God bless you and your family for that effort.
Vote on that?
Passes 9-0.
All right, here we go. First one in 3, 2, 1. Another one. Y'all stay still. And 3, 2, 1. All right,
Executive session. Quite well. This time we go to executive session. Items 1A.
Receipt of attorney-client privilege communication in regard to property rights remaining in certain properties sold to Maria and Calvin Ritchie. Councilmember Bartholomew. 6A2. Receipt of attorney-client privilege communications from special counsel to the Plaquemines Parish Council in regard to parish council authority under the Home Rule Charter LRS 42:17A10. Attorney Danny Garrett, Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Second by Mr. Roussel. Time 0. Passing. Time? I don't know. I don't see it on my board. 220. What? We'll come back to order at 3:11 p.m. Regret that there was no action taken in the executive session. We will now move to the request of Ms. Sullivan to item what is it? 7J.
Discussion by Mr. Lawrence regarding concerns of the Myrtle Grove residents. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Mr. Lawrence.
Yes. Good evening. My name is Warren Lawrence. I'm the president of the Myrtle Grove Marina Homeowners Association, and we're here today to make a presentation. I know you see us in the news all the time about the flooding we have in Myrtle Grove. The presentation will be made by my brother to start off with, and I'll finalize it up. First of all, I'd like to thank Mr. Pataldi and Audrey Salvin, Councilman Audrey Salvin, for allowing us to make this presentation today. Is our computer on? We need the password for the computer. I think all of y'all have a handout on what are we be doing on the screen. Okay. The first slide is that's not our first slide.
I want to remind you, you got 5 minutes. Clock is running.
I'll read the first page. Mr. Bartholomew, when I addressed this about the 5-minute limitation to have it on the agenda, I think you told me there would not be a 5-minute limitation on a presentation.
That's 3 minutes of question, but it's 5 minutes of presentation. That's the law.
Well, let's get on with it. Okay, on the first page, but evidently we can't bring it up. These are some of the drainage issues we have in the subdivision. All our drainage in the subdivision is coated steel pipe and is rusting out, has collapsed in several places. Councilman Turner, when he was on the council, moved in excess of $40,000 from funds left over from the Lake Hermitage Bridge project. And we don't seem to know where the money is. The existing culverts on the Myrtle Grove Road and Auburn Road are not sufficient to drain the land east to Lake Hermitage Road, as evidenced by Tropical Storm Cindy. And the future levee alignments, along with future drainage systems, are in the design phase, and we have very little information on that thing. We've also asked for hydrology studies on the effect of the storm surge in our development, and received none except to say that it is minimal. What is minimal? Myrtle Grove Marina Estates Phase 1 returns to the parish in excess of $127,000 in ad valorem taxes each year. Phase 2 in the commercial developments in Myrtle Grove Marina Estates contribute at $100,000 or more, an estimated $100,000 or more. The part-time residents and vacant lots compose the majority of owners. The majority of the full-time residents who live in the area of an older demographic and do not require as much public services. At present, we have 5 children that attend Plaquemines Parish public schools in our subdivision. So we make very little demand on parish services. Next slide, Ben. Okay, the next slide shows, I'm sorry for the audience, they won't be able to see, but the councilman have the typical cross-section of what our drainage consists of today. And if you'll notice that our drainage goes through the existing levee into a drainage canal. Now, there's a proposed levee to the east of it, and then there'll be a new drainage canal within the pasture. Like I said, we don't have much information coming on that. Can you get the pictures up there? No. Okay. I had pictures and stuff. I'm sorry we can't get them back up on the screen. Showing out what the areas that's in the subdivision. They flagged off. It's been like that for years. We have parts of the street that one of the cul-de-sacs, this blacktop has actually collapsed. It's just blocked off with barricades right at the present. And I'm sorry that we couldn't get those up for the audience. Some of our goals, primarily we need to get the two drainage crossings underneath Myrtle Grove Road and Auburn Road changed out. Those have to, there's a 4-foot culvert underneath Myrtle Grove Road, replacing two 4-foot culverts. There's a 4-foot culvert on the Auburn Road, and Mr. Wallace said there's two. I can only see one that replaced 3 6-foot drainage. This has to be addressed. That's the first priority thing you have to do. Then we're looking for gates, steel slide gates on the drains that exit into the pasture that can be closed when the tidal surge threatens the Highway 23. Prior to Hurricane Harvey, they came out and blocked out drainage off the day before. And I can understand the parish wanting to get the jump on a storm. The problem is, had our tide not come up and we'd had a real rain event, we'd have flooded from the rain. Because the drains, they couldn't get to the drain stations. So we're asking is that when water threatens the highway, we know we're subject to tidal flood. Everybody in the subdivision understands that. But when the parish accepted this subdivision, they promised us drainage, and we're not getting drainage. And I know that financial situation in the parish is not the greatest, but I know they have some money in the pipeline. I know there's some councilmen here that don't want to use BP money for recurring expenses. This would be a capital improvement. This is not a recurring expense. And our ultimate solution is the floodgate. And I'll let my brother speak a little bit before the 5 minutes runs out. I guess it's off.
It's been that's all right.
I'll just make it quick to give a brief history lesson. We've been fighting this for years. The previous council, when they did this alignment, we fought it, we lost. They put this alignment where they wrap us. When that came about, we went to the Corps of Engineers, and the Corps of Engineers says if you can find an alternate way to do this, to put the floodgate in, they would go ahead and price it out, which they did. And you have some that show you in here. I sent you each a copy. They had done a study, and they came up and said it would be $75.4 million to wrap us. It would be $86.8 million to put the floodgate in. That was $11 million more. At this time, when they did the $75 million, since then, this council has been now buying land to put more right-of-ways. When they originally went through, the Corps came to the parish and they said, you give them the property we need and it will expedite the levies. They did. Whatever they said they needed, this parish went out and negotiated with Citrus Land Company, got exactly what they said they wanted. Now they come back and what they wanted is not what they need. So they've come back again and they asked for more money to go into buying land from Mr. Nungesser and Mr. White. You've already put out $12 million allotted to go buy that land. So that original $75 million is far off base now. What the parish did at that time, and we asked, they hired a consulting company to look at this and do a study. They sent out an RFP, and the RFP was sent out in 2012, and it asked for companies to bid. The companies bid, and the job was to provide a storm surge modeling, as well as other things. The company that selected was Evan Graves Engineering. They did that study, it cost $50,000. That study has never been presented to the council. I have a copy of it. That study does not include the modeling on hydraulics. I could never trace how much money was paid to this company. If it ended up at $50,000, if it was less than $50,000, but the contract has never been completely and filled as per the RFP requirement. In closing, I'll just say that, you know, we live back there, we are people. And if you look in the audience, I'd ask the people from Myrtle Grove to stand up to show you. We do believe we contribute to this parish. And there's a way to solve a problem, and it's easy to solve the problem. We need you to support us, and with a resolution or something, to go back to the Corps of Engineers, through our congressional delegation, through the state, and through the, you people, the parish, to support us, and saying, go in and look at, make a resolution to put common sense into this, and say, let the Corps go in and study this again, and tell us, it's not too late to save this community. This parish talks about economic impact. That place, if it's developed, would be the greatest economic impact in the middle of the parish. It won't depend on oil and gas. It will be a constant revenue source. I know my time is up and I won't continue any further. Any questions? I would add one thing is about the culverts in the front. At the time of the streets collapsed, the parish came out, and on our street, Marina Road, Myrtle Grove Road, they had two 4-foot culverts, two 5-foot culverts. They collapsed, they took them out, they replaced it with 1-4. We complained, nothing was done. They went to phase 2, took out 3 6-foot culverts, replaced it with 1-4. Now the problem is that the water from the shooting range, our subdivision, and the pasture on the east side cannot get to the pumping station. This was done by parish government. The streets have never been repaved, thank God, because you're going to have to dig them up again. The back where it's collapsed, there's 4 collapses already, and you replace it again with steel pipe. You know, I mean, we're bucking our heads against the wall, and we're just asking for support to try to get some logic put into this to get our situation. The floodgate naturally would cure you a lot of problems and ourselves. Thank you.
Any comments, audience? Any more people like to make a comment? Anybody else?
My name is Barry Benson Tucker. I have a residence at 116 Timber Canal. I've been back there since the beginning. 14 years. I raised my son back there. He's 22 now. I've seen a lot of changes happen over time with flood and tide. It used to take 3 or 4 days for the tide to come in and out. Now it's within a day. But sometimes if you do certain things to protect our community, and protect the coastlines, we can make a change. And we depend on y'all to help us with that change. I have a lot invested down there. A lot of other people have investment too, and I want to stay. I don't want to leave. That's all.
Comments from the table? Anybody?
Mr. President, I have something.
Wait, please. Administration?
Yes. My name is Marvin Descant. I live at 108 Kingfisher Lane. During the storm this past Harvey, I cleaned every drain on that street to let the water out. I mean, they have a cake like this. Now, who owns the road, parish or PBAS? So we're trying to find out. PBAS says the parish. I call the parish. Parish says PBAS. Who owns the street? Alderman Lane. Can you give us an answer?
Okay. I don't know. Anybody else?
No answer, huh?
Oh, excuse me.
Mr. President?
Yes, I want to speak on behalf of the residents of Myrtle Grove, and the reason is this. We've had, during Tropical Storm Cindy, and also during Harvey, it confounds me that there are no valves on these pipes. I support the idea by Mr. Lawrence that there's a need for steel slide gates or some sort of valve, and let me tell you why. Currently, this administration has a policy, and the policy we've been trying to follow has been, first, we have a duty to protect the residents inside the levee system and Highway 23. The next duty is to the residents outside of the levee system, the Myrtle Grove residents. And then naturally, we also have commercial land there as well. The balancing act that we've tried to do has been close to impossible because of unknown variables that Mr. Lawrence mentioned. We've got rainwater, which the way this was designed, and I will call it what it is, it was a flaw that there are no valves to allow to be able to be closed, because the problem does not come when you have rainwater and that water draining out of Myrtle Grove from just rainwater. The problem comes when we have a storm and we have the threat of tidal surge. It's the tidal surge that puts Highway 23 and the residents inside of the levee system at risk. And without the valves, this becomes a labor-intensive, cost-intensive process of going out there, trying to predict if the storm's coming our way, if the hurricane's coming or not, getting ahead of it, because once a hurricane hits, it's too late for us to be able to do anything. And this is not fair to the residents of Myrtle Grove. It's not fair to parish government, because there's a better way to do this. There's a better way to function. The other problem is that in the last Hurricane Harvey event, what we did was we calculated that the high tide at the Empire Gates takes approximately about 3 hours to make its way up to Myrtle Grove. On the morning, I think it was the Monday morning, might have been Tuesday, when Harvey hit, we got a reading from Empire that it was not as high as Tropical Storm Cindy. So, based upon that reading, I took a guess to try to alleviate some of the drainage problems from Myrtle Grove, and we opened up 2 of the culverts. Naturally, that didn't please the people with cattle on the pasture land, but I'm going to put people before cattle. That's a policy decision that this administration made and will continue to make. But the problem is just what Mr. Lawrence articulated and what this gentleman here articulated, is that we shouldn't have to play a guessing game. And I've seen some permitting paperwork. I don't know if all the signatures were correct, but there clearly was some reliance when this subdivision was built that the parish would provide rain drainage. The problem, though, as I stated, is that when we have a hurricane event, as we had Tropical Storm Cindy and Hurricane Harvey, is that this is a roll of the dice. And when we did open up the 2 culverts to alleviate some of the drainage, or help the drainage of the residents inside Myrtle Grove, the suction was so strong that we had some eat out on the 4 or 5 foot levee system. So if we had a valve in place, or a series of valves in place, this whole process would be much more logical. And then, the policy would be, and in fairness to the Myrtle Grove Marina residents, the policy would be that in the event that a storm is headed our way, we close the valves. And then and it would also give us more lead time, because if you had valves, it would be much less labor intensive to open and close a valve, and it would also allow us to wait a longer period of time before closing those valves, so that the rainwater and/or tidal surge would not back up in Myrtle Grove. This is, like I said, there's no exact science, and last time, thanks be to God, we somewhat guessed right, but the system needs to be improved because, again, without going too deep into the legal quagmire, I do think a series of valves would solve the near-term problem. At a later point, I will discuss my trip to D.C. in which I was taking up another part of the issue of a more permanent solution with the levees. But I really would urge the council to use some of this BP money to at least install some valves so that it will be less cost labor intensive when we have a storm coming, and we'll be able, I think, to provide better service to all the residents, to where we can, if we had a valve situation, we could clearly tell them, look, move your cars out, we're going to be closing it down, as opposed to the more labor intensive process of having to go and manually devise some solution to block drains.
Thank you, Mr. President.
At this time, we would like, would the legal department take advice, the gentleman, his name, and advise him who owned the cover, please, so his question can be answered legally. Let's revert to the beginning of the agenda, please. I'm sorry, Ms. Sullivan. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my only comment would be, because that's the way I was going to direct my question, and my comment was going to be directed to the parish president, because the buck stops with you. Okay, bottom line is, we don't want to go with any of this political posturing or whatever, because a lot of this happened with the previous administration. These folks were being told we were going to do this, we're going to do this, and we was going to get the floodgate, we're going to do this. So I don't want to be, if that's the case, I don't want to be a part of that political posturing. The point is that there's something needs to be addressed in that community. Now, I don't know what would be the mechanism to resolve it, but I know I didn't go into that community and drop sandbags to block the drain in there that caused the flooding in that community. I wasn't even informed when it happened. So my comment to you, Mr. President, is that I'm encouraging you to work with this council and trying to come up with a remedy. I don't know if the BP money is the way that would be the proper way to go, but I would say that you should work with this council to try to come up with a remedy of the problem. Okay? Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Councilwoman. And just so it's clear, yes, the buck stops with me, and I want to just put everyone on notice that the policy of this administration will be, first, we've got agreements with the Corps, where we have to protect the residents inside the levee system and Highway 23. This is somewhat awkward. Inside the levee system and Highway 23. And I'm sorry to tell you that's going to be top priority. The next, though, you're next in line. The residents outside of the levee system will be my next, and second highest priority, and that's the way we'll go. And then, unfortunately, I'm sure I'll get the cow pasture owners are going to get mad at me, but they're going to be lowest men on the totem pole. But I will support, and it's about efficiency, and it's about if we have a system of valves on these drains, it will allow, I think, protect everyone, protect those inside, and as well as give the residents outside of the levee system a longer period of time to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to evacuate their houses. And will also make it easier on parish government, because it's a lot quicker to just go out and close a valve than it is to go out with this manual intensive process of trying to figure out how we block the drains to protect the residents inside of the levee system and to protect State Highway 23.
Yes, I think Mr. Warren had mentioned about when they changed the culverts on the south side of Phase 1, he said they had 6-foot culverts and they went to 4-foot culverts?
One.
All right, you had 2 and you went to 1.
3.6 went to 1.4.
Okay.
2.5 went to 1.4.
Okay, well, my question to the administration is, do we have the proper culverts in-house to repair that mishap?
It's my appreciation. It's my appreciation, Councilman Edgecombe, that we used what we had, which we didn't have any other culverts. So, again, I'd encourage you to put forward an ordinance to get, would you like a PVC or to meet with your constituents? Okay. I'd encourage you to meet with your constituency and pass the ordinance, get whatever, you get the culvert that would be acceptable, but I simply would request a valve, because the biggest thing from a valve will allow us to, one, it'll cut down on the amount of time required to perform this function.
The first priority is the pipe to be checked.
All right, thank you, sir. Well, with all due respect, Mr. President Cormier, that's Ms. Audrey's district, as far as you with the constituents. It's a no-brainer. You need to change the culverts. I know there's a tremendous amount of culverts on Walker Road, storage as far as another parish has. It's a matter of getting the equipment out there and changing it again. It's simple. For them to get proper drainage now.
That's just, we would definitely look into that, Councilman Edgecombe, but from where did you, that's not what I was informed of. So, but there's an easy way to, I don't know if those culverts are for the water line project or some other project, I don't know, but I do know there's a quick fix, an easy fix is for an ordinance so that we can buy the proper culverts and take care of this matter.
Yes, I would recommend, before we just start asking people out the audience and what they want now, that you consult the engineering department and come up with a solution. You talk about screw valves and flap gates, so there are plenty of options, but I think it should be an engineering option and solution to the problem rather than trying to solve a problem over here on the back of a piece of paper. So I know we have an engineering department that's capable of that. I'm hoping that we have a heavy equipment department that's capable of replacing the pipe, and the solution ought to be an engineering solution.
Yes, sir. My name is Kevin Carlson. I live at 102 Timber Canal Lane in Myrtle Grove. I'm for all the above solutions. I think a floodgate is our best solution. It protects everybody, us included. It protects Ironton, it protects the highway, the cattlemen. I don't see why we should spend hundreds of thousands of dollars driving heavy equipment into salt water. And it's not just a storm surge. You get a south wind for 3 days, we flood. It's not just hurricane or a tropical storm. Since I moved there in 2014, I've flooded 3 times in my lower floor. The streets have flooded 5 times. There's no public service. If one of these elderly gentlemen have a heart attack, nobody's coming to help him. If a house catches on fire, the fire department is in the front. They're not coming to put it out. And the first high water event I was involved in, there was more sightseeing pushing water under these houses than they would, just to see what was wrong. Not a care in the world to our property. I'm 47 years old. I plan to be there until I die. Hopefully that's not soon. But I definitely want to have protection. The floodgate is the ultimate solution. It protects everybody. If there's just a ring levee around us, who benefits and who loses? That's all I have to say.
Any other comments? No. Next item, President report.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Our last meeting was, I am Amos Cormier, Parish President of Plaquemines. Our last meeting was August 24th. This was a long break because of the additional week. So normally we have these status reports that are received every 2 weeks, and this time it's 3 weeks. A lot has happened. To begin with, to give you the short overview was we've had Hurricane Harvey. We had a levee breach that was caused by that, but I'll go through more systematically. First, I can positively report that since Hurricane Katrina, Port Sulphur has been without a library, and that construction for the rebuilding of Port Sulphur Library has been advertised, and a pre-bid meeting was held today. So that project is moving forward. On the Lake Hermitage Road, there are plans that are complete. We have there was additional, I believe, a water quality certification that I think the Corps or DEQ added on to piggyback at the last minute. But we're staying on that issue, and we want to resolve that as quickly as possible. We have addressed the mitigation requirements there, and as soon as we can get this other permit issue resolved that was added more recently, we hope to advertise that construction. Empire Park construction crew has been given notice to proceed. On Good News Drainage, the bids came in over the estimate. Good News Drainage was a project to drain that area. The estimate was about, I want to say about around $1 million. The lowest bid came in over $2 million. FEMA and GOSEP have identified and reallocated funds, and we've submitted a cost overrun adjustment, and that adjustment is under review by FEMA, and we hope to keep moving forward with that project. On Main Street drainage, we're awaiting a permit approval from the Corps. And once we get that approval, we should get the Phase 2 funding for that project on Main Street drainage. Engineers Road drainage plans are about 65% complete, and they passed the state's initial review. Jesup Bend drainage, the construction contract was signed. We're awaiting the water line project in the same area to be complete before starting that drainage project. We have the new ferry dolphins for the Belle Chase Scarsdale Ferry. Project construction will commence when the landing barge repair is complete. To report from around the days of August 28th, we had daily briefings from the National Weather Service regarding Hurricane Harvey. Besides having some damage to the levee at Myrtle Grove because of Hurricane Harvey, we had a private levee breach there back behind Alliance. To the best of our estimation, we put Phillips 66 on notice. They informed us that it was Stone Energy, and we put them on notice as well. My legal team did so, that they had a breach. Their response was lacking, and so we stepped up and took matters into our own hands to fix and repair that breach. And what the driving force for that was twofold. One, as we all knew, we had a Category 5 Hurricane Irma in the Atlantic that was headed in our direction. Thank God that turned, unfortunately for Florida, and we wish them the best, and they're in our thoughts and prayers, but we wanted to expedite this repair so as to not to jeopardize or have any early flooding of State Highway 23 for evacuation purposes. This matter will come up, I think, later for discussion, so I won't go any further there at this time. We also had regular meetings from the National Weather Service regarding Irma, and as I stated, thank God that we avoided that calamity. The tie-in to all of this is, for a while now, I had a trip to go back up to Washington, D.C., our capital, to address three issues. One was the wetland mitigation credits that PPG owns, $7 million worth, and the Corps of Engineers reversal of decision, because when Colonel Hanson was the head of the local district office, he had issued a correspondence to my father stating that the Corps was mandated to include wetland mitigation credits in the environmental assessment for the NFL project. And this levee project, when it occurs, will address these private levee breaches, because it's going to replace that. Hopefully will address the situation in Myrtle Grove, although they still have concerns and valid concerns. And from the standpoint of our financing, first we relied upon the prior assessment that these mitigation credits would be included in the environmental assessment as a valid option to meet the mitigation requirements. That was not done by the subsequent office holder. We objected at the district level. We took our case up to the the regional office in Vicksburg, and we made our argument there. And there, the argument, as you go along these things, you learn more and more about it. There, our argument, we found that we had another argument, which was not just the rationale that the Corps gave us at the district office for excluding our $7 million of mitigation credits as an option, was that it fell outside of the basin, the Barataria Basin. And on this issue, there's a clear policy and consistency within the Corps itself. The regulatory branch of the Corps was the branch that mandated that PPG use $7 million of its cash to buy the wetland mitigation credits in the first place. It was when we were seeking that permit for the same area as NOV-NFL project that this all came about. Unfortunately for us, The Civil Works branch of the Corps, or the Environmental branch of the Corps, has a different definition of watershed as defined in WRDA 2016. Watershed is the key term that delineates the area for which mitigation can occur for a project. There, they make, Civil Works said, well, NOV-NFL occurs on the west bank of Plaquemines, and your mitigation credits are located on the east side in Chef Mentor. And we distinguish between Barataria Basin and Lake Pontchartrain Basin. Now, we had some national associations that also met with us, with Major General Jackson at the United States Army Corps of Engineers headquarters in Washington, D.C., that further elaborated upon this policy inconsistency. And when I attended and testified at the Mississippi River Commission, we had the two civilian members of the Mississippi River Commission, Commissioner James from Missouri and Commissioner Dr. Matei, who both stated that they thought it was an inconsistency as well. We also were fortunate to have, at the meeting with Major General Jackson regarding this policy issue, was our chairman for the Louisiana Coastal CPRA, Mr. Johnny Bradbury, who supported Plaquemines as well, because both Mr. Bradbury and their attorney stated that they saw it as an inconsistency within the Corps as well. That matter was submitted along with, as I stated, the Mitigation Bank, the National Association for what used to be called Mitigation Banks, now it's called the Environmental Resources Business Association. They also supported our position. Now, we also made another argument, was as part of the NOV-NFL project occurred on the east bank of Plaquemines. And under Corps rules, we should be able to, even if you apply the narrow definition that the Civil Works side applied in this case, that we should still be able to use those credits because the work done on the east bank of Plaquemines falls within the Lake Pontchartrain Basin. And Major General Jackson was paying close attention when I made that argument, noted that down along with Mr. Dalton, who's one of his chief administrators at the Corps headquarters. The meeting was lengthy. The colonel who represents the district office, he also flew up to D.C. His position was, of course, not favorable, and he thought, equated the mitigation bank to a design-build contract, which naturally I didn't disagree with because of the first problem, which is you've got two branches within the Corps using two different definitions and making two distinct and irreconcilable determinations. Chairman Bradbury was very helpful in getting a commitment from the Major General that they will get back to us within a month on this issue. This is where our interest and the Mitigation Bank and the National Association of Mitigation Banks differed, or were not in alignment, because they were willing to wait for a longer period of time than we were, because they want a policy change for the sake of their business model. And we need this done now so we can address some of these problems. So we're hopeful to get back some word from them, from the national headquarters of the Corps. We also enlisted and had the support and help of our senatorial delegation, Senators Kennedy, Senator Cassidy, and our congressman. Met with Congressman Scalise's chief of staff. He's still convalescing, but he's slowly getting back into the saddle. And they promised their support as well on this issue of the Corps allowing us to take advantage, to get some value out of that $7 million of mitigation credits. The other big issue was the FEMA accounts receivable. It was quite providential, the timing of this meeting. This was set long in advance, and the plan was to do an assessment of where we were with collecting, Plaquemines Parish government collecting reimbursement for the cash that we paid out for Hurricanes Katrina, Gustav, and Isaac. With Hurricane Harvey devastating Texas and hitting Louisiana as well, and Hurricane Irma, there was I don't know if it would be called a policy or directive issued by the FEMA director to halt all other payments so as to focus all the money on Harvey and Irma. I think it's principally Harvey. The cash burn rate was excessive. It might have been $240 million a day, and the FEMA was burning through the cash reserves that they had. So, in the meeting with Senator Kennedy, we discussed a couple of different options. We know from historic precedent that the Texas delegation, congressional delegation, 36 members strong, will be having a bill come forward that will pass for relief of Harvey. Our first option was to attempt to try to get a provision put into that bill so as to close out all these old project worksheets from Katrina, Isaac, and Gustav. That's one course that we're exploring and we will continue working on. It's more likely than not that the other option, which was discussed, was going to OMB and requesting their assistance, and I would keep the council informed if I hear anything back from that, and once again, we reiterated our former offer of a global settlement of all these matters. My fear as parish president is that the longer we don't get paid, the risk of us getting paid nothing becomes greater. And so I'll keep you informed. If we have to settle this matter on a discount, I will keep you informed of that matter. But I definitely want us to get something instead of nothing for all this money that was expended during those hurricanes. Finally, we discussed the National Flood Insurance Program with our congressional delegation. We were informed that Director Vincent Frelish and I were informed that NFIP will be extended so that it will not terminate this month. But the word that we're getting is that it will only be extended to December, and that just kicks the can down the road. We're still looking for a better resolution on that. The last matter we discussed with Congressman Scalise's office was GOMESA. That is, in my opinion, that's probably the biggest issue as a parish that we have facing us in Washington, D.C. That is the largest potential source of revenue that's out there, and it's a revenue that, in my opinion, is one that we're due, that we should be receiving. And we have not been receiving because of regulatory positions by the Interior Department. I had a meeting on September 8th with our bond counsel, Mr. Hugh Martin. he approached me regarding some interest rate movements in the bond market and expressed the opinion that there could be some potential savings by exploring what type of rates we could get, possibly refinancing some bonds. I think he will be reaching out to you. I requested more information, and so if you get a phone call, you know where it's coming from. I also, back a little bit before then, I also requested an Attorney General opinion. It's no secret that I'm of the opinion that when you have our charter states a majority of the entire council, and the charter defines the entire council as 9 members, that a majority means 5. And you have sections in the charter under 4.01 where there's 2/3 vote required for the council to sell, for the parish to sell land. There's another section where 2/3 votes required to override a veto. And there's another section in there where 2/3 votes are required for some other matters. And we requested guidance on that from the Attorney General. We discussed it already, but I would simply request that for the purposes of providing efficient service to the residents of this parish, that we have the funding made available for valves to be installed in Myrtle Grove. It's just, it would be a much more sensible solution, because as I told several people, I don't have a crystal ball. This idea of guessing what the high tide is going to be in Empire and then trying to make a decision, based upon what the high tide is in Empire, as to whether or not I can alleviate some of the flooding concerns in Myrtle Grove. I don't like being in that position. I don't think any of you would like to be in that position either. I think if we have valves, it will expedite the whole process. We'll have a clear policy. But right now, the implementation, my policy is clear, but the implementation of that policy is not, because we don't have manual valves to allow us to stop that tidal surge. The last thing, I had a meeting with Aquametric, and Mr. Gary Ragusa from Aquametric was here. He's here. As you all know, the parish has benefited from a pilot program where Aquametric had a system that would allow for the reading of meters electronically. That pilot program is coming to an end this month. But I think there's also something on the agenda today about meter readings, but he's here today as well, and if I could beg the indulgence of the council for if Mr. Ragusa, I don't know if he can stay around till the end of the meeting, but if you have any questions for Mr. Ragusa.
Good afternoon, evening, council. As President Cormier stated, we've had a pilot here in the area that's coming to an end here, September 24th. We did one whole route in the Belle Chase area, 99 total meters. Those meters have been read electronically since March of this year. So if there's any questions regarding that pilot program, I'd be happy to answer.
Mr. President, are you finished with your statement?
Yes, thank you.
I'll ask the question. On the pilot program, we're not going to take any more public time here. I request a meeting that we sit down and with the water department and talk about it in another setting and meeting. So I don't have any questions for you now, but I do have questions and want to know the results of the pilot in the next couple of weeks when it's completed. If we completed his presentation, I have a couple of questions on the mitigation issue for the president. The Lake Hermitage Road, you said the mitigation was taken care of. Could you tell me where the credits were for that project?
We used 2.5 or maybe 3 credits from the Chef Tour Bank.
So to be clear to the public that we have used some of the credits, 2 or 3 acres or whatever it is, for a project, and those projects, those credits are still ours and can be used.
Yes. The problem is that it's a time value of money. We don't have the money to engage in major capital improvement projects. The biggest issue we have right now biggest project we have is NOV NFL. So now's the time to use that. That's the same mitigation area that was for which those credits were purchased.
Okay, so my point is that there's some question about we lost the credits. We didn't lose the credits, we still own the credits.
I never said anything about losing the credits. What I said is that the environmental assessment number 543 issued by the New Orleans District Office was contrary to the prior correspondence that my father received on February 16th, 2016, which stated that the credits would be an option that we could use to pay our mitigation for NOV NFL. And you touch upon a good topic, Councilman Roussel, because it's not just the $7 million. As I've stated before, the $7 million would be the initial benefit. The problem is much larger than $7 million. The benefit to a mitigation bank credit is that you foist or put the future operation and maintenance cost onto that bank. What environmental assessment number 543 does, they're trying to put the hidden cost of future operation and maintenance costs onto this government. And that's something I've objected to the district office and objected to in Vicksburg and went and made our case to the Washington, D.C. headquarters, because we would have never purchased the credits but for the Corps regulatory branch demanding that the credits be purchased.
Now, back to what I stated a minute ago. We own the credits.
No one's disputed that.
So, in the future...
Let me clarify that. Let me clarify that. There was correspondence in preparing for these issues. There was a piece of correspondence that I saw from our interim parish president that indicated possibly returning those credits to the mitigation bank. Now, that was done though because of, and that's why I cited Colonel Hansen's correspondence in 2016, because initially PPG wanted to use our credits directly on NOV NFL, and the then commander of the district office, Colonel Hansen, said that we can't pay you directly. You've got it. We can only deal with the mitigation bank. That the Corps has a rule, a mitigation rule, that prefers mitigation banks. So that's another conundrum that this environmental assessment offends the parish or causes a grievance against the parish because the Corps is not following their own rules.
Okay, so I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible.
It's not as simple. That's the problem. This is a bureaucratic, regulatory nightmare. And on that point, I made the point at the meeting that had the Corps been applying all these rules back in 1927, they never would have been able to build the Mississippi River levee system. and we wouldn't have a lot of the land loss that we have. And that was a point that was noted. I mean, they've changed, they've added all these rules in the 70s and 80s. If you'd have had all these regulatory mitigation demands and everything else, the Corps would have never been able to build the Mississippi River levee system.
Okay, let me start over. My point is that we own the credits. We have utilized some of the credits towards the Lake Hermitage Road project. Is that a fair statement?
I signed a letter authorizing the release from the bank. The exact ownership of the credits, Councilman Russo, I need to get back to you on that. I know we've been dealing with the mitigation bank. As I stated, the interim parish president, I saw a letter in which, upon the urging of the Corps, that we may have given or ceded some interest back to the mitigation bank. But I definitely can get the answer to that question. For purposes of using these credits, that was a moot issue. It was irrelevant, so I didn't bird dog that.
Okay, and I'm going to make this brief. I just would like to know or get a copy of the document that requires us to provide the mitigation on the the NOV-FL levy that you're referring to. So what levy are you talking about as far as us having to provide mitigation?
That, I'm pretty sure, is included in the PPA that was signed by the administration before my father.
For what levy system?
NOV NFL project, New Orleans to Venice.
Non-fed or fed?
The NFL stands for non-federal levy.
So you're saying to make it simpler, from Oakville to St. Jude, we are responsible for the mitigation on that project?
I'm saying for the New Orleans to Venice non-federal levy system. I don't want to give an exact detail. I don't want to misspeak, so it included in that project.
Just to leave it like that, I'd like to see the document or a partnership agreement that says we're responsible for mitigation on whatever levy you're talking about. Thank you.
Welcome.
Mr. Cormier, in your address, you mentioned the Good News Project. And as you know, that covers my district, and it's the first I'm hearing of this. And from further discussions from now on, I'd like to be involved in these discussions and added to any kind of agenda or meetings that you have, so I can be able to answer my constituents of if there's problems considered on Good News. So I implore you to involve me in these discussions.
I will, thank you.
Next item, please.
On the President's report?
Okay, Mr. Lyons?
Yes. I just want to make it perfectly clear to the President, too, on his talk on the Myrtle Grove solutions. We had met with him one time, and we've asked him, make sure we get a dialogue started on what we've asked to come up with some ideas we have. But two things I want to address to make sure you're aware of. We have a pumping station that serves our area that can only be operated to 25% of its capacity. That has not been addressed. We accepted a pumping station we can't use beyond 25%. The next thing that I want perfectly clear, our first priority, we did not have a problem with our drainage until they took out those drains and replaced them with one-pipe drains. That's the priority we want placed first. Put us back in where we were before, take out those, somebody blew it. Nobody's going to suffer for it except the people who are behind those pipes. And I don't worry about gates on it or anything else. The first priority, we want to make sure it's understood, is one, get the right size pipes that were designed and put them back in there. What material you use, that's this decision to be made by the administration. Secondly, we'd like some answers on the 25% capacity. We have a brand-new pumping station. You can't operate the capacity. Thank you.
Any more questions, audience? I'd like this time to move to 6S at the request of Councilman Lapine.
A resolution authorizing the Plaquemines Parish government, represented by the parish president, to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate, perfect, and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemines Parish Assessor's Office for the cost sharing of professional services for the collection of data and the valuation of certain oil and gas personal property located in Plaquemines Parish for the 2018 ad valorem tax year and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
By Alpert, second by Councilman H. My name was already there. Questions from the table? Nobody? Mr. H. you have anything?
No, sir.
Belinda Hazel, assessor. Thank you for the courtesy of moving me up in the agenda. I appreciate that, and congratulations on your new digs. You all look very distinguished up there in this new setting. This should be very quick. I won't use more than my 5 minutes for certain. Before you today is a resolution that asks you to execute a cooperative endeavor agreement with the Plaquemines Parish Assessor's Office. We're asking you to share in the cost of engineering services that we have that value our oil and gas wells. They've been doing this for the Assessor's Office for many years, beginning with a 2008 audit. They continue that every year, a maintenance contract. This year we're continuing what they normally do, plus asking them to take a look at an additional 20% of the wells that they haven't revisited since the original audit. You have the money in the budget, it's my understanding, to do this. This is not anything different than we've asked you to do every year prior. The other taxing bodies, of course, pay their fair share as well. So I'll be happy to take any questions that anyone has. I think I've spoken to all of you individually about this. It's a long day, but if you have any questions, I'll be happy to field them.
Audience? All vote, please. Vote passes 8, 1 abstention.
Thank you very much.
At the request of Councilman Roussel, we have moved to 7K.
Discussion regarding meter reading and billing in Belle Chase area. Councilmember Roussel.
Yes, I placed this on the agenda for some discussion and hopefully for some solutions. I know Aquametric is in the audience, and that's probably part of our solution, but I noticed one of my constituents, Mr. Jennings, in the audience, who put a post on social media that generated an extreme amount of interest. And as a result of that post, I've had constituents call me, give me horror stories about what's going on with their water bill, and some examples that make it hard to understand what are we doing. For instance, I get some people that tell me that, or showed me their water bill, that there's no usage on their bill, but yet they get a bill. And in the following month, they get a bill that's twice as much as the previous month, even though the usage shows nothing. I have an individual, and it got out of hand to Port Sulphur, where I have a business that shut their meter off completely and didn't use any water for that period of time, and got a $427.38 estimated bill. So we have a serious issue on either the lack of reading the water meters or incorrectly reading the water meters. And this is not the first time that we've had this issue about the water meter readers and the billing and collections office. It's been an ongoing issue, and I think we need to approach it with some drastic measures to either move in the direction of doing the automatic read meters, as well as probably looking at privatizing the billing and collections office and asking ST to maybe take that service over. And without getting into the personal horror stories that have been told to me, I think that we need to do something, and I'm asking the administration to address this, and I know there's some people in the audience that may even want to make their comments. So it's not an issue that can go away. I think it needs to be resolved.
I too echo Mr. Roussel's comments. My office, as well as my personal cell phone, has been ringing off the hook with these questions about the water reading, the bills, etc. And of course, I didn't have any answers for them. So I would ask, for an explanation on that as well.
Audience?
I have a small presentation for you. I don't have a computer to put up on display. But yes, I'm Peter Jennings. I live at 297 Bird Run Drive in Belchase. I brought this to the attention to the citizens. My bill dated 8/25 that I received last Saturday said I used 30,000 gallons of water. I got 3 people, my wife and a 5-year-old. If we use 30,000 gallons of water, we're doing something wrong. I don't have the leaks. The house is 6 years old. Everything is brand new. Now, on my bill, it says that my last reading number was 854. I guess that's 854,000 total since I've been in the house. But my last number is 854. Yesterday at 3:30 in the afternoon, I took a picture of my meter that says 844. That's 10,000 off. The meter was read on the 23rd of last month. So between the 23rd of last month and now, I may use a few thousand gallons. When I called, my wife called the water department, we were told to go out and read the meter yourself and call us back and we'll make an adjustment on your bill. Well, my question was, where do I start? What's the starting number? How long have we been getting inaccurate bills? To get an accurate count. I don't mind paying my bills. I want to pay for what I used, not what somebody says I used. Now I have, anybody wants to look at it, they're one welcome. This is a printout off of the Plaquemines Parish Water Department's website of every bill since I moved into that house in 2010 on my usage. And since 2010, I've only had one other month, which was last month, which was the month before that, when I put a pool in and filled my pool up. Other than that, I've been averaging between 4,000 and 12,000 a month for the summer months. Now I'm up to 30,000. My bill's tripled since I moved in 2010. So we really need to get it straightened out. It's not that I'm not going to pay the bill. I guess if that's the only way I can keep my water on is pay a falsified bill, I have to, because I have a 5-year-old that I have to depends on me to do it. But this is a problem that obviously is parish-wide. It's not just my house. It is parish-wide. I've got a lot of people, just like Mr. Roussel said, and Mr. Bird, that people are calling in. It's not a one-time incident. This is something that needs to be addressed and needs to be taken care of. That's all I got.
Thank you for the call, Mr. Jennings. Mr. Williams. I don't know how you do.
I just want to reiterate, this is not the first time this has come in front of this council. Mr. Jennings, and I appreciate you providing us with this information. I think every one of us here has had complaints about inaccurate readings and things of that nature from our constituents. And I'm requesting that the administration provide a solution to this, whether it be changing out meters or there has to be consistency. This is extremely inconsistent and it is a hindrance on the administration. I don't think that a resident should have to go out and get a reading off their meter and call in the water department. I think if they call with a complaint, they should send someone else out to reread that meter. I think that we're having issues to where the public is being put in a position to do someone else's job. And I don't agree with that. I recommend that the administration take this, and we need to find a solution, because this is an ongoing issue that has come in front of this council time and time again.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to clarify a few items that misinformation is being put out via social media or any other avenue of reporting. My office has gotten numerous calls. I've gotten personally numerous calls. And the main issue, number one, one of the main issues is the information that's being put out by the water department. And, you know, if it was one person, two people that said certain things, I would say, you know, maybe that's not really what they said. What has been happening, though, when I refer to my numerous calls that I received, it's numerous calls. It's dozens of people. And you look at social media, you know, Mr. Jennings had a post that had, I don't know how many shares and hundreds and hundreds of comments. My Springwood page had, you know, double-digit comments and a lot of discussion. Let me just be clear. This council did not raise the rates for a third time. We initiated it a few years ago to do a 3-phase rate increase. The third phase we canceled because we were not happy with the way things were getting done in the water department. So for people to say at the water department that the council raised the rates is totally false. The rates, the third phase of the rates were not executed. We have not raised the rates on phase 3. That has been, we amended that months ago. So to be very clear, and we need to tell our employees at the water department, stop saying that. I'm not sure who's saying it, but that needs to stop. The second thing is personnel in the water department, as far as meter readers go. My office, I'm not sure if any other office on this council has been requested by the administration to hire more meter readers because you don't have enough to read the meters. It hasn't been brought to my attention. As a matter of fact, we just funded a position, and I think even posted it at the last council meeting to hire another meter reader. I know we had a meter reader transferred from I guess, Burris or whatever, Port Sulphur. I'm not sure if that was refilled, but please stop telling our constituents that we don't have enough meter readers to read the meters. If we don't, please let the council know that we need to hire more people or go to an automated system, or what's the solution? Because the council's getting beat up saying, well, you guys haven't provided us with the personnel. I've never heard of anybody, of any, you know, lack of manpower in that particular department. And the third thing is, we cannot tell our constituents to go out and read their own meters. They're not qualified. That's parish property. It's not, I mean, it's a terrible practice. And it's a terrible practice to put estimated on a bill, and then when they call, they're told to go read their own meter. I just find it unacceptable. We need to find a better solution. Like Ms. Williams and a few others have said, we've discussed this before. I had it on the agenda. We had Angie come up and discuss it, and that was months ago, and it's the same problem. I mean, we shouldn't be having bills where, you know, not everybody's toilets are leaking that bad. I mean, we're talking about readings that are, you know, 60, 70,000 gallons when the average is 8 to 12. I mean, something's wrong. Something's wrong somewhere. So I would just ask the administration to give us some solutions or look into it a little bit further and tell the employees at the water department to stop putting out misinformation to our constituents. That's all I have.
I can echo a lot of those sentiments myself. Mr. Jennings, I apologize for your inconvenience. I guess there's one thing that Mr. Black did touch on, and my frustration is, as soon as a constituent has a problem or calls the water department about an issue, sometimes, or majority of the time, is said to the constituent, You must have a leak. It must be your problem. That is the most frustrating part that I have to listen to from my constituents and the people. I go to Balestra, I go say, what are you going to do about the water department? What are you going to do about the water? It keeps going up. I can't get an accurate account. I can't get service. They say it's my fault. I brought a plumber in. I got a receipt from a plumber. It's still not my fault. So this is an ongoing process that has frustrated 9 of us, not just 1 or 2, but 9 of us. And it happens continuously. What is the solution? I don't know. But again, as Mr. Black said, if we need more meter readers, and we're out of meter readers, or one has quit, or one has retired, let us know. Same thing with mosquito. We asked you to let us know about mosquito drop. We did. We funded that. Please, we can't be controlled over what the water department is doing. This is the frustrating part. Please come to us. Tell us that I'm short a water meter. I got one that's on vacation. I got one. I need to know where we stand. And that's all in a nutshell. And you will hear 9 of us say basically about the same thing. But again, just because we're in the customer service business, we got to show a better front to our constituents. You don't know how embarrassing it is when they say, you've upped the water meter, we haven't got better service. We got worse service. And that's the frustrating part. So I'm not here to the solution. I'm not here to bash anybody, but I need to find some answers. And I need some help from you. I need some help from Ms. Ann. I need some help. So thank you.
Yes, I have the same problem. Some people are satisfied. Ms. Angie does a good job when I call her. She always returns my call, and she talks to the people, and some are very satisfied, and some aren't. I'm not accusing nobody, but this is what I think. I think they pencil whipping. Now, what I mean by pencil whipping is that they're writing it down, they're just writing the number down and not looking at the meters. I may be wrong, but to me, that's what I think they're doing. And we're going to have to take them in, talk to them, and explain to them they cannot do that. And I think they're making a big mistake. And Ms. Angie is doing the best she can, but she can't be on the road with them all the time. Thank you.
Okay, I guess I'll respond to all 9. Let me first apologize to Mr. Jennings and anyone else who have any concerns about the water and building department. I don't go on Facebook because most of the time it's always negative. But if there's an issue, and I always request from each council member, if there's an issue, that you can call me at any time. I'm always in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning, and my cell phone still works. And if there's any issue with the billing, with the meter readers, once you bring it to my attention, 9 times out of 10, I jump right on it. We'll call Miss Angela, we'll do rereads, we'll do whatever we have to do. We'll do meter checks, we'll change out meters, whatever we have to do to make it work, we try to make it work. I know there's human error, like with all things, and that's one of the reasons why we got with Aquametrics to kind of see if we could find a solution to this. Because you're always going to have human errors. And maybe, as Mr. Juno said, I'm not going to say they're pencil whipping, but maybe they're just errors they make. I don't know. But whenever there's an issue, if you bring it to our attention, I promise you we're going to look into it. Now, will everyone be satisfied? No. Because once we did the increase, most people was used to a $7 water bill. And to go from $7 to $15 to the average citizen is a big jump. And I understand that, and I do appreciate that. And I know there's frustration on both ends, and I know you're hearing it, as well as I'm hearing it. I'm hearing it also. And so it's not a one-way street, but we're trying to find common ground. We're trying to make it work. Ms. Angela's doing the best she can do. You have given us permission to hire more meter readers. We're working with civil service to find some right now. I'm hoping within the next week or 2 that we can get those meter readers on board. Matter of fact, I have one who's leaving tomorrow. Tomorrow's our last day. So I'm not blaming you because you've given us what we requested. But I'm asking you and the public to have patience, allow us to work it. If there's bad apples, we'll eliminate them, like anything else. But give us the opportunity. Call my office. Please don't wait 2 weeks for a council meeting to bring it up today, because a lot of times I'm hearing y'all saying y'all have dozens of calls, And I haven't got a phone call from any one of you in the last month in reference to water issues. So I'm asking you to work with me, I'll work with you, and we'll make it work, I promise you that. Thank you.
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Mr. Jennings, for bringing this issue to the forefront. And all due respect, Reverend Giles, it's not something that I like to do, have to call you on a regular basis because of an individual water meter problem that seems to be getting more frequent. I think it's a systemic problem in the system that needs to be revamped. Something has to be done because this issue hasn't gone away. And we can call you all day long and you can address the individual constituent, but the problem is systemic. It's in the system somehow, not being handled. And as far as the bad apples, I don't think that we should take bad apples and move them to another department. And we've done that. It's not the thing to do. I think that, discipline should be taken and the bad apples culled. So, as far as the misreads and all, I'm hoping that we probably look at the automatic meter reader if we like what we see after the end of the pilot result. But the issue needs to be addressed, as you've heard from most of us. So thank you again, Mr. Jennings, for bringing it forward. And as far as reading Facebook, it's not my favorite thing, but it is a source of information. And you would be surprised at the information you can pick up from there. Many investigations are solved by Facebook, so you might want to try it.
Thank you, Mr. Jones, for that update, and I appreciate it. And I guess my one and only question, and I don't know if you can answer, Ms. Angie can answer it, parish-wide, how many minimal meter readers do we need? And how many do we have on staff now?
Currently, at this moment, we have 5 meter readers. One left July 14th, and we did not have this position filled since. So we were short 1 meter reader. That meter reader alone reads 1,500 meters and an additional 100 service orders per month. In order to get billing done, we had to estimate meter readings on readings in that area. The estimates are done by the computer, and basically what it does, it takes either, if we're talking July of 2017, we could limit it to July of 2016, or we take the previous 3 months and get an average. And based on that average, the computer will put an estimate. As of tomorrow, we will be short another meter reader. She's resigning, and therefore she reads an additional 1,500 meters. So that's 3,300 meters as of tomorrow that we don't have a person to actually read. That's why we are forced to estimate.
Okay, can I ask you a question? Minimum amount of meter readers that you could suffice the public, what would be your number?
Okay, we just received permission to add an additional. That would put us at 7.
Could you make it with 7?
I think we could make it with 7 meter readers. But like I said, it's been since July, since one has already gone.
Okay.
As far as estimating, and I'm going to refer back to, I think it's Mr. Roussel's, about the customer who had no usage but then received an estimated bill. What the system does is looks at the actual billing. It does not take into consideration any adjustments that was made to that billing. So for instance, if he received a high bill in one of the 3 previous months, it was taken into consideration for the estimation. However, when we go to actually read the meter, it would be considered an over adjustment, and we would adjust accordingly based on the current reading that's on the meter. As far as leaks goes, to be honest with you, the only reason why we do mention to check, because there is a provision in the ordinance that says any customer is allowed 2 leak adjustments per year. So I think it would be an injustice for us not to mention that to customers who legitimately have issues and is not aware of the fact that we do have this provision. A leaking toilet, I know we get bashed for even bringing it up. The reason we bring it up, this is a book of all the adjustments we've done for this year. This customer here had, for a leaky toilet, that he brought in paperwork, and all of these adjustments are leak adjustments in which customers have identified a problem and brought in paperwork and said that the problem has been resolved. We're going from 67,000, 95,000 gallons of water for a toilet that was repaired, brought in proof of repair. That is a $600 bill reduced to $64. 59,000 gallons of water, a $400 bill brought down to $67. A toilet is a major problem. A lot of time we get calls saying there's no way a toilet can use that much water. $64,000, a $400 bill brought down to $141. It does happen, we see it, and therefore we want customers to go ahead and check all and every issue that could occur. I had a gentleman that came in from Mr. Juno's office. He demanded his meter to be checked. He has a strip mall, and at the time, he did not notice that there was a problem. Last week, he came back to my office with the plumber's receipt. He had 4 toilets leaking in that building. I'm not saying that everybody has a toilet problem. This book will tell me people had broken water lines. There's numerous issues that can cause an increase in the water bill. As far as telling our constituents to check the meter, we do advise them to check, because not only are the numbers on the meter, there is a leak indicator on the meter. It determines if the customer has a problem that they might not even be aware of. We don't demand that they go, but we do ask them to go, just in case they have to rule out anything. The determining factor is the number that is on the meter. We cannot bill you for a number that does not show up. Mr. Jennings, I don't know if he's still here. Was the bill estimated was the bill that you received was estimated? In that case, we overestimated him.
But my question is, you overestimated. If I'd have paid this bill, and everybody else in the parish who was overestimated paid their bills,
then you would receive an adjustment on your bill.
but if nobody would have caught it.
We do catch it when we read it, sir.
Right, but when you read it next month, and I'm above, you're not going to catch it. If my meter showed, if your bill showed 854,000 gallons.
That's a reading. The 854 is a reading.
Right, it's a reading.
Yes.
And then my actual meter was 844.
Right.
A month from now, when you come out and actually read it, it may say 858. I only used 2,000 gallons that month. You're not going to catch it.
So when you come back, if you come back and you show us that after our estimate that you had a high bill and a very low bill, what we do is we go back and look at it and say, instead of using 10,000 and 2,000, we do go back and look at it and say, okay, it's possible that you would have used 6 and 4, and we do adjustments for that.
Right.
And another reason why we do ask for you to check is, in this case, you called us. You probably would have gone out there before we were able to send someone, since we're short, and we take that into consideration and get the adjustment done more quickly. But it would have been caught when we read the book, and we do adjustments.
Ms. Amy, So we had this a few weeks ago with the drainage department that came to us and said, we need pump operators, we need this. And so they came to us and said, I've got this retiring, this is what I need. We granted them. So today, what do you need from us?
Today,
How many meter readers would you need? We can't do it today, but how many meter readers would you need to be sufficient or working properly in your office? How many more?
Okay, with the 7, I think maybe we could, with the 7, I think we would be better than, I think we could operate with the 7.
3 more positions?
Well, 2 that's vacant and just the additional that you've already approved. And
you can manage with that?
I think we can manage with that.
I have no more questions.
Thank you.
No. Sorry.
And can I add something real quick? I know, as far as the meter readings, and some of you do think that maybe that they are not reading, I just brought along a couple route books that, looking at it from my end, I have my meter readers that's documenting meter is spinning. I have them documenting a meter was broken and a meter was changed on the route sheet. I have numerous documentation saying that meters were underwater. Some that's saying that make a work order for SC to order a meter box. So these things are being identified because they're out there and they're physically looking at these meters and when they're getting these readings. I have numerous where they're telling us to move a meter location, a sequence to a different area. You can't do all of these and make these notes and documentation if you're not physically out there. So I just, I have recordings that back up that they are out there and they are reading. Now, like I said, with the estimation, unfortunately, you're going to have some that are overestimated and some that are underestimated. Those that are overestimated are automatically adjusted as soon as we able to get an accurate reading, whether we go out there and get it or if a customer come in and document a reading.
Miss Angie,
Yes, ma'am.
you stated that the meters have leak indicators on them?
Yes, they're spinners.
Okay,
Yes.
so if the meter reader notices that when he's needing to read it, do you not immediately notify that resident, letting him know to check for leaks?
What we do, we try to contact those. We always trying to update phones. Sometimes we don't. They do leave door hangers. Sometimes it could be. It's not always mean that there is a leak. It could be a potential leak. Sometimes if a person is home using water and he's reading a meter, it will spin. But they know to notice different types of spin, and most of them are indication that something is and could be going on.
I just wanted to verify that y'all
Yes.
immediately notify the resident.
Yes, we do call them. Meter readers have left door hangers. Another thing that has hindered us the last 2 months is today we have perfect weather in July and August. I think we had 15 to 20 days of rain. Every time you see rain, that means that throws us a day off schedule. Not always immediately after rain that we could go to the meters the next day and read them. Some meters hold water.
Thank you.
So until we get these 2 meter readers or the 3 meter readers, unfortunately, I will have to estimate those 3,300 accounts so that we can get billing out. But once again, I assure you that the estimations are computer estimated and they are taking an individual's average. We're not going across the board and saying that we're going to charge every constituent 10,000 gallons. It's looking at the individual's average, and sometimes an average that actually shows up is a little higher than what the customer is used to. But all in all, it goes back to the reading that's on the meter. And if anyone have a question or concern, they're welcome to call, and we'll definitely check into it.
All right, thank you for commenting. I'm not sure if you heard some of my comments before you got here, but I do appreciate your work, and I'll get to some of those issues later. But I don't really agree with Mr. Lepine's strategy because we don't give Stanley prom people. We don't get. I mean, we can't go down that rabbit hole, basically. So I just want to be on record to say that I'm not for that strategy. But I will say this. I just spoke to finance, and just to get a clear understanding of where we're at. So right now, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meter readers that are funded, okay? You said you need 7. We'll discuss the 7th one if you need another person.
I think you already did. We have, well...
I'm going to tell you what finance has got.
Okay.
So give me 1 second.
Okay.
We have 6 funded meter reader positions. We have 2 that are vacant. So you have 5, okay? I'm sorry, you have 4, and we have 2 that are vacant. The 2 that are vacant, this council voted on August 10th and August 24th to lift the fee for both of those. So civil service should have posted those positions. Ellen, did you post them?
I have that information.
Okay, she has the information. Those should be posted immediately. I think the president has to request it. But those two are lifted, 810 and 824, those 2 vacancies. That will then give you back 6. We have 1 employee, as you mentioned, who is resigning, correct?
Yes.
What I'm going to do is I have, and thanks to finance for pointing this out, I have an ordinance that I was going to defer about a fire lieutenant, which is item B. It's the same exact language of the ordinance that Mr. Bartholomew plans to introduce today. So what I'm going to do is I'll offer that with changes, strike out the firefighting general fund, strike out the lieutenant because Mr. Roy is not here, I'm not going to vote on something when he's not here, and put in the water buildings collections 1 meter reader. That way we'll expedite that process to get you that 6th meter reader. So you should then have 6 meter readers as soon as it gets posted and filled. I'm very hesitant, and I probably would not vote for the 7th meter reader right now until Mr. Ragusa's report comes back to us. Because at that point, if we elect to go with an automated meter reader system, do we need, at that point, 7 meter readers? Or will we have to reduce it to 4 or 5? I don't know. We have to wait for Mr. Ragusa's report if we decide to go in a direction. So what I will tell you, I want to make very clear to our constituency, to the public, to the administration, is that we're going to have 3 vacancies that will be posted that will get you to 6. 1 shy of what you requested.
I think that would get us to 7, because we have 4 right now, and if you're giving me 3, that's the 7.
Yeah, well, what I showed, unless you have somebody else that's reading meters.
It's probably my workflow coordinator.
Okay, well, they are, then you have your 7.
That's what I'm saying,
Okay, there you
yes,
go. I appreciate it.
right.
Has anybody replaced the employee who was suspended position?
No, he was not, no, that his position was, he was in the lower end of the parish and he remains there.
But he's a meter reader still?
Yes.
Okay, I mean, I thought that, I don't want to get involved in it. You fine with that? All right, I don't want to get involved in a personnel issue. But basically my point is, so now you will have.
I would have myself.
Okay, if it's okay with John, I'm gonna.
I appreciate your expertise in getting things done quickly.
All right.
I will take it out. Let's
All right.
move on.
So yeah, so I'll basically change that later on in B.
I thought you was finished your comment.
You have your 3. No, sir.
Okay.
So is that So hopefully, we'll stop with the estimated readings, right?
As once we get them in position, it does take a training period of a couple months for them to learn the routes and,
Just write down numbers, shouldn't take too long. Thank you. That's all I have.
I just have a brief statement and not a question. Is the estimated bill, and my only concern for some that are fairly large would be folks that are on fixed incomes, and if there's any lag time in between getting those meters corrected, you know, that could be a hardship on some families. That would be my only, just a statement.
right, and basically that's why we use that individual customer's previous average. So if a customer stays within their average, then the estimated bill normally is not out of range. Besides the ones that had an issue or maybe a leak that the system will not deduct when forming that. But as soon as a reading is gathered, and if it's over-adjusted, overestimated, it is adjusted immediately.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any other audience?
I guess there are two things to say. One is I'm against privatization, and I'm against automated meter readers. People need jobs, man. Don't come here with that. Let the people earn a living. My second thing is, and the citizens of the parish, when the buck stops with the administration, but at the end of the day, everybody knows. You all sitting behind them, but everybody knows. You cut these guys' salaries about $50,000 and expect miracles. Don't work in America, man. It do not work in America. We have all these situations and all these problems because you cut a man's salary for $50,000 and expect to work on slave labor. Don't work in America, man. And then you know it's slave labor. Don't put up with that.
Hi, I'm Ellen Barrios, I'm the Civil Service Director, and just a couple of things. I do want to say that Angie is one of the best supervisors that we do have, that she's really good with her progressive discipline, with coaching her employees and so on and so forth. Today, I want to thank Mr. Cormier. He kind of gave me a heads up to gather some information in reference to this, to give you some information of what we have. In reference to the meter readers, vacant position 03 was vacant on July 17th, with someone transferred to another department. Y'all passed an ordinance to unfreeze that position on August 10th. So I don't know if that's written in the book that Joel counting in there. We received the request to advertise for this vacancy on August the 15th. We got it posted August the 22nd through September the 5th. Meanwhile, we had another ordinance to create and fund and unfreeze a new or an additional position, position 06, on August 24th. Today, we received another resignation for meter reader position 01 to be effective tomorrow. So currently, we're looking at 3 vacancies. The job has come down. As you know, my department is shorthanded. We're doing the best that we can. And we've been processing each request, or first come, first serve. Today, we processed the deckhand vacancies. Next, we go to the building inspector, then the helper in solid waste north. Then we have the meter readers. The meter readers are going to require testing. Then we have the pump station operators, communication managers, and then we address those that are up until filled. So hopefully within the next week or so, we should be able to get Angie a list. And with those 3 unfrozen for her to fill, she should be able to select her 3 vacancies from there. But, you know, just please bear with our department. You know, we're shorthanded. We are asking for additional people to help us out. We've had an overload of requests as far as personnel files with all the lawsuits that have been pending. Okay, I'm just trying to explain why, you know, we haven't gotten, or, you know, to the folder to get the list for them to do the interviews. Okay? All right.
Hold on. Ellen, hold on. All right, you didn't mention that, and we're gonna have another one coming to you, so you're gonna advertise 3.
Right.
But you had mentioned when you posted it, you had to take down September 5th. I thought we clarified that issue, that you need to just keep it open until filled.
I have applications too. I think it's like 9 that I have to test. At some point, I have to take it down and I have to do the testing.
So
of
let me
those.
ask you this, if you have 9 applicants and 3 qualify, just because they didn't particularly,
Because normally I'll give 3 names for the first vacancy, then 1 additional name for each. When I complete the testing, if I don't have enough to give them that number, or it would be 5 applicants to do, I'll put it back up on the board to get additional.
what I'm saying is, because we're gonna post another one shortly, but if you have 9 applicants and say 5 of them qualify for the position, then can you fill those 3 positions out of those 5, or do you have to repost again?
Yes.
Okay.
Once she gets the list, she can make her selection from any of those names that are submitted to her.
All right, so you're letting us, I just want to be clear, you're letting us know that you have 9 applicants for the one position that's,
I have several, they have to be tested.
Okay.
There's a math test that they do have to pass, you know, so provided that they pass that, and I have the number of applicants to submit to Angie for interviews, then, you know, she'll have that, and then she'll have to come back to me. If I don't have the 5 to give her, then I'll put it back up the board, you know, so that she can fill all of these vacancies.
I mean, if you only have 5, you have to have a minimum?
Well, I'm supposed to give her 3 names to interview for the first vacancy.
Okay?
Then she'll get a
Well, what if
4th,
you only have 1?
then I would repost it.
Why wouldn't you just give it to the person?
Because it may not be the person that Angie is wants. She's supposed to have at least 3 people to select from. And she may do the interview.
So you use the word supposed to, not shall or has to.
Well, because the rules say that I give her 3 names to choose from.
Does it say you must?
It doesn't say shall.
Okay, so my question is, if we desperately need meter readers, and 2 people applied for the job, and just because it's not 3, can you give Angie the 2 or the 1?
Oh yeah. I would
Then
give her
maybe
those.
Angie might like the person,
Yeah,
say, you know what, I'm gonna hire this person.
Yes, sir. I would give her those. She would do her interviews, and if she decides to select those, then you just notify me that, and we would process them, and then we would continue to advertise for the 3rd vacancy that she had.
Okay, we desperately need meter readers. We have 3 vacancies. They'll all be posted, hopefully, some are already posted.
It's already posted.
If it's 1, 2, or 3, please turn in the numbers, whatever it is, to Angie, and let her decide if that 1 person that's qualified is the person they want. Give her the option, just don't.
We're going to.
Just don't repost it.
We're going to give it to her as soon as we can. It's come down. We'll be doing testing shortly, and we'll be able to provide that information to Angie to do interviews shortly.
All right, well, thanks for the clarification.
Is that it?
No, not yet.
Okay.
You know, we went through this before about leaving the post up until the positions are filled. All kinds of scenarios that can happen in between a 9 and 5 and higher. It's my recommendation, once again, that you leave the positions posted until they are filled.
I understand that, and our procedure is posted twice, and on the third time it would go up until filled. And the reason for that is if there's testing that's required, you have to have a timeline to actually go and review the applications that are in there. We're shorthanded. I don't have anyone that just studies these applications every day whenever they come in. When they come down, it's a date, it's marked, the folders are pulled. At that time, we go through it. If it's up until filled, it may just get overlooked. You know, and we don't want that to happen. That's why it's better to have a date for it to come down.
Well, I think you're putting more work on yourself. I think if you let the advertisements go until they're filled, and we're not hiring that many people, so I don't know why you're all overworked, but I think that I'll hold that discussion until your item comes up on the agenda. I, once again, say that I believe we should keep the postings up until they're filled.
As of today, we have posted 54 advertisements so far this year with the freeze going on. And our normal number of advertisements before we've had any layoffs or anything has been 100. So we're right at our normal numbers for advertisements, even with the freeze being on. And positions that have been posted up until filled.
Look, I don't want to question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. Saving me because I was going to get into it.
Thanks, item, please. I don't think we have any bids and advertisement. Do we have any? No. Beer and liquor licenses. Councilman Black? Councilman Black, you have any liquor license? Okay. I'm trying to make him sign in. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, yeah.
Nick Foltz, we need you, Nick. Yeah, I have one. Richie Blank Jr., 31918 Highway 23 in Buras. September 23rd, starting at 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the FOA Bear Government Complex Pavilion. That's all I have.
I have one, Mark Bergeron, 104 Pleasant Ridge Drive, Fishing for Charities Incorporated. The event is September 29th, ending September 30th at the Murder Grove Marina for breast cancer awareness. Great, thank you.
Have one fishing rodeo, Byron Engelard, Point Lahash Marina, for October 14th and 15th, 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. on the 14th and 5:30 to 6 p.m. on the 15th. That's at the special marina in Point Lahash. Anybody else? That's all. Ms. Sullivan?
Kitchen, 105 Camellia Drive, Port South, Louisiana. And I have a special event permit for Gerald A. Turley Jr., a political fundraiser to be held October 8th at the shooting range, P.O. Box 7053, Belle Chase, Louisiana. Thank you.
So, offered by Ms. Sullivan, second by Councilman Black. Question from the table. Audience, the machine is open. Passes 9-0. Item 4, building permits. Anyone object of taking those in global from 1 through 8? Anybody object? We'll do them in global.
For A1, Terracon Consultants, Inc., application number 2017-502, dated July 19, 2017. Excavation and removal of contaminated soil at the site, 2309 Engineers Road, Councilmember Roussel. Number 2, Eustis Engineering, application number 2017-518, dated July 25, 2017. Drill 39 soil borings and 97 cone penetrometer, get it out there. Test for proposed IGP methanol facility, Myrtle Grove area, Councilmember Trufant Salvan. Dimension Energy Company LLC, application number 2017-550, dated August 3rd, 2017. Dated August 3rd, 2017. Installed 2-inch and 3-inch pipelines, Grand Bay area, Councilmember Bartholomew. Whitney Oil and Gas LLC, application number 2017-576, dated August 15, 2017. Install 4-inch gas lift line, Chenier Pass area, Councilmember Bartholomew. Panther Oil Operating Company, application number 2017-585, dated August 18, 2017. Install concrete mats on the existing 20-inch MPOG pipeline, Main Pass Field Block 80, Councilmember Bartholomew. Number 6, Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2017-607, dated August 30th, 2017. Install 2 10-inch low-pressure gas lines, Lake Washington, Councilmember Edgecombe. Number 7, Robertson Energy LLC, application number 2017-612, dated September 1st, 2017. Prop wash drill the SL 21494 well number 1 and install well structure Delacroix Oil and Gas Field, Councilmember Bartholomew. Hillcore Energy Company, application number 2017-617, dated September 6, 2017. Install 3-inch test line, Lake Grand Ecole area, Councilmember Edgecombe.
Oh, you do it because you're trying to get the money done.
I offer, second, Dr. Sala. Question from the table, audience, sheet is open. Passes 8-0.
Passes 8-0. We'll move to the permitting trailer permits. Anybody have any objections? Not taking global? You do this, Rizal? You have an objection? All right, let's do them individually, please. Okay. Which one do you want to withdraw? We're going to withdraw D.
I would like to defer F.
Defer F. Any others? Could you do the rest of them in global, please?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, go ahead.
I would just like to acknowledge, to have you acknowledge to Mr. Metcalf office, indicating that all of these permits have met all of the requirements that's put forth by the permit department.
I think when we offer them, that's what we usually do after it's offered. And before we vote to it, but go ahead.
Yes, they have, including the
Okay, I just want it to be noted on record.
Read those, please.
B, Shumlin Sut, 3rd Trailer Residence, 147 Moats Lane, Buras, Councilmember Williams. C, Gladys Smith, 4th Trailer Residence, 24980 Diamond Road, Port Sulphur, Louisiana, Councilmember Trufant Salvant. E, Gulf Coast Oil and Supply LLC, business occupancy for wholesale distribution and sales of lubricants, industrial questionnaire submitted. 405 Cocoa Lane, Belle Chase, Louisiana, Councilmember Roussel. G, Gibson Services LLC, commercial business in an 8-2 zoning district. 29560 Highway 23, Home Place, Louisiana, Councilmember Trufant Salvant.
Offered by Mr. Roussel, second by Mr. Burke. Roussel?
I'll offer his read, but I believe Mr. Metcalf has a comment.
Just clarification, I said, including the ones that were withdrawn, I have to say, deferred, just for the record.
Has been offered, second. Any other questions from the audience? Sheet is open. Passes 8-0. 5, please, item 5. Introduction of ordinance and resolutions. Mr. Burke?
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Road Maintenance Fund Manpower Structure and Operating Expenditure Budget, Public Right-of-Way Maintenance Department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That is all.
Mr. Gino?
A resolution granting conditional approval for plan of subdivision of John and Bonnie Panapenta of a portion of plots 24 and 25 of the Belchaz Plantation, Section D, Belchaz, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, is shown on map of subdivision by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering Incorporated, registered land surveyor, dated May 18, 2016, revised August 31st, 2017, without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines. I have one more. An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council on and behalf of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority Board of Louisiana, CPRA Board, the West Bank Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, and Plaquemines Parish government to grant authorization for and right of entry for construction for the West Bank and vicinity, WBB, Mississippi River Levy, Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction, West Bank and vicinity, Ormond, WBB, ARM, WBB, ARM-10, System, Ormond, Reach, WBB-MRL, 3.2, Belchaz to Oak Point, Baseline Station, BLS Station, 310 plus 00 to 444 plus 00, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana project for Mississippi River levee, flood and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Thank you, that's all.
I have one, an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority Board of Louisiana, the West Bank Levy District, Plaquemines Parish, and Plaquemines Parish government to grant authorization for and right of entry for construction for the West Bank and vicinity, the Mississippi River Levee, Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction Systems, West Bank and vicinity, Ormering, WBB ARM-11, System Ormering, Reach, WBB-MRL 5.2, and WBB-MRL 6.1. English term Bend to Belchaz, Baseline Station, 0 plus 00 to 255 plus 25, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana project for Mississippi River levee, flood and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all.
Mr. Williams?
An ordinance authorizing the parish president, following his recommendation and agreement by the council, to execute a contingency fee contract hiring the law firm of Costage, Summers, Parciola, and Taylor, LLC attorneys as special counsel to represent the parish of Plaquemines Parish for the purpose of pursuing any and all claims for punitive damages available to the parish as part of the pending punitive damages and assigned claims settlement with Halliburton Energy Services, Inc., Transocean Deepwater, Inc., and all companies related thereto, hereinafter collectively referred to as Halliburton and Transocean, in connection with their respective roles in the April 20, 2010 BP oil spill.
Ms. Williams?
Yes,
Sullivan?
Yes, an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levy District to appropriate new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easement and new temporary work area easement in certain portions of lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV NFW 06B.5 Magnolia Pump Station, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, flood wall drainage, flood access, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have, sir.
I have some. An ordinance authorizing emergency exception to high freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to approve and amend civil service pay plan and classification schedule adopted by Civil Service Commission on August 3rd, 2017, reallocating classification of rescue boat engineer, rescue captain, and marine inspector / relief captain, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, recreation facility service department, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Board Harbor and Shipyard Fund operating expenditure, Board Harbor, Point-a-la-Hash Department, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvement, appropriate $600,000 for the resurfacing of Highway 15, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the emergency exception of the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2017 Water and Sewer Fund operating expenditure budget, Waterworks and Sewer Billing Department, otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance to declare the millage rate levied upon the dollars and assessed valuation of all properties subject to ad valorem taxation within the parish of Plaquemine, Louisiana, for the year 2017 in accordance with Article 7, Section 23C of the 1974 Louisiana Constitution and Louisiana R.S. Code 47:1705B, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. A resolution assigning office space in Belle-Chasse Government Complex at Epid Building 100 in Belle-Chasse, Louisiana, to the District Attorney Office, and otherwise to provide respect thereto. An ordinance authorizing the emergency exception of hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemine Parish government, otherwise to provide respect thereto. H-Con.
An ordinance of the Plaquemines Parish Council to direct all meetings of the Plaquemines Parish Council to be conducted in the council chambers in Building 203 at 333 F. Edward A. Bear Boulevard in Belle-Chasse, Louisiana, until such time as the construction of meeting space in Point-a-la-Hash has been completed, and to provide for related matters. An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund operating expenditure budget, drainage stock shop department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of property of Saxon Becknell Jr. of Tract 1 of Mrs. Jenny Jordan et al. And Leonard Jordan Division, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 1A, 1B, and 1C. Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, shown on the plans and plot of survey by Dufresne Surveying Engineering, Inc., dated April 27, 2017, revised September 13, 2017. The owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
That's all, thank you.
An ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority, Board of Louisiana, the West Bank Levee District, the Plaquemines Parish, and the Plaquemines Parish Government to grant authorization for and right of entry for construction for the West Bank and vicinity Mississippi River Levee, Mississippi River and Tributaries Project, Hurricane and Storm Damage Risk Reduction System, West Bank and vicinity armoring system, reach WBV MRL 1.2B, Augusta to Oakville B Baseline Station, 512 plus 68 to 560 plus 40, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana. Project for Mississippi River Levee flood and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. That's all I have.
If I have any more, we want to move to this ordinance and resolution. Ordinance and resolution on the second reading and final passage. 6A.
6A1, an ordinance by the Plaquemines Parish Council as and on behalf of the West Bank Levee District to appropriate new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall easements, new perpetual flood protection levee flood wall and drainage ditch easements, new perpetual drainage ditch easements, and new temporary work area easements in certain portions of the lands in Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, to construct the New Orleans to Venice NOV-NF-W-06A.2, Point Celeste to West Point Lahash, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, for levee, flood wall, drainage, flood, access, and hurricane protection purposes, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Salvin,
Yes, I offer as read.
Mr. Rousseau.
I second.
Question from the table? Audience?
Okay. What happened was, at the last council meeting, this legislation was offered with changes, and it had a lengthy discussion on it to actually to appropriate and acquire perpetual property in the easement for the polder from from Point Celeste to West Point Lahash. And it was a lengthy discussion that we had on there, and everybody was in agreement with it, but there was one exception that we had with the legislation, and it was that we did not have, the council did not feel that they had access to Jefferson Lake, the public nor the government. So we had a conversation with, we called a meeting with the Corps, and myself, Mr. Bartholomew and Mr. Roussel, and we managed to convince them that we needed to have access to that property. And through some insistence of the two of my colleagues and myself, we was able to convince them to give us access to that canal. So with that, I'm going to offer with the changes and all. And I'm prepared to move forward on this. If there is any questions that you can, Mr. Cooley is here and Mr. Ari Maltz is here, if you have any further question, but other than that, I'm prepared to move forward with this.
Audience, any question from the audience? Oh, she is open. Passes 8-0. One no child. Absent. Okay. Still no. Next, please. Item 2 is being deferred. 3.
An ordinance to amend and as amended re-adopt Chapter 5, Article 3 of the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances, dogs and other animals, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Councilman Black.
Yes, I'm offering with changes. You guys have the changes. We passed them out earlier. Can you read through them real quick? On page 2, lines 60 and 61. I'm scratching out animal shelter department, comma, or any person issued and authorized to wear the animal shelter badge, comma, to enter the building or premises. That is stricken from that line. The word parish is added on line 60 after the employee of the parish. On 61, I'm adding the words to lawfully. On page 3, on line 152, adding the word to after 10-day period, which is in 2. Page 4, on line 202, I'm striking anti. On line 209, I'm striking anti-rabies serum and replacing with rabies vaccine. On line 222, I'm striking anti-rabies system serum and adding rabies vaccine. On line 227, striking serum, 226 and 227, striking anti-rabies serum and adding rabies vaccine. 231, striking anti-rabies serum, adding rabies vaccine. On line, item page 5, on 287, instead of the word no, it's not, so I'm adding a T. And the final page on line 401, striking at all times and adding daily. That's all the changes.
Mr. Rousseau?
Have a second?
Mr. Rousseau, seconds.
All right, Mr. Bartholomew, I want to recognize a few people in the audience today. If you could stand up when I call your name. You don't have to stand, that's fine. Raymond Ferrer with our health department. Shane Landry, Ramona Fitzmaurice, Chris Beebe, Davius Simone, Robin Benagle, Tammy Gagliano, Frank Guerrero, Jean Guerrero, Dr. Kim Gusman, who's the vet. This was brought to my attention probably about 6 months ago that this ordinance was really outdated, needed to be revamped. This is the animal ordinance, and to get back up to par with the region, and actually pretty much surpass a lot of other folks that are operating within the region. We formed this group to get input from all entities of government, from the veterinarians. A lot of council members were involved in this legislation. I want to thank them as well. It's quite a substantial bit of work that was done to get us back to, or get us to where we need to be. For folks who really appreciate and love animals and the welfare of the citizens as well. I thank y'all for y'all help and assistance in this. I don't have anything else on it, but I do want to thank those folks that I just recognized. All the hard work that they put in.
Everybody who's in the queue, hit your button.
Hit your button again. Ms. Solomon?
Yes, Mr. Black, I haven't read this legislation in its entirety, but there was just an incident in my district where, I don't know if the provisions have been addressed in this legislation, but there was a pit bull that an individual had, and he was tied by a chain in the front yard, and a passerby was attacked by this pit bull. And I think, in essence, long story short, I think the animal control was called out, and they confiscated the dog. They checked him for rabies, and they returned it back to the owner. And the same thing is happening. The dog was placed back in the yard. So my question is there a distance, or is there any restraints that a dog of that breed can just be housed in the front yard?
Yes, I mean, you brought up a lot of different points, and almost every point that you addressed is addressed in this ordinance. The tethering, how the animal control responds to it, what's the process of bringing it back to the owner, the testing for rabies, etc. So all of that has been addressed in this particular ordinance. So all of those issues, I can almost guarantee you that that situation would probably be handled somewhat differently now that we have actual law in place that addresses all of those issues.
Any comments, audience? Machine is open. Passes 9-0. At the request of Ms. Williams, we will go to item 6-0.
An ordinance to fund the cost overruns associated with the Bureau's Oyster Hatchery project and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Williams.
Williams, you offer?
I'll offer with the changes that was passed out earlier.
And you offer with those changes, right?
I offer with those changes. And the changes are on line 13, scratching out 2017. Oh, well, I need the second verse, or?
Now,
Okay.
just gonna read.
I'm gonna read the changes. On line 13, we're striking 2017 and inserting 5-year, striking the word budget, inserting plan. On line 14, inserting unreserved, undesignated fund balance, striking Burris. On line 15, inserting construction and inserting funding year 2017, striking all of section 2, and changing on line 35, section 3 to section 2. With this changes all.
H. Combs? H. Combs, seconds. Wait.
Okay, this was brought to me by administration, and I want them to elaborate on this. This is something that I don't completely agree with, but administration brought this up, so I would like them to elaborate on this legislation as far as why this additional $300,000 is needed, what's the history behind it, and I'll turn it over to legal, and I would like for Mr. Ken maybe to come up and speak on it, so we can get a clear picture of why these funds are needed.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Williams, for sponsoring this legislation on behalf of the administration. We really appreciate it, and also with finance to make sure that we got all the proper accounts. What happened here on this particular project is we had some cost overruns, particularly associated with the need for additional power drive, and the soil conditions were not what we had originally thought they were, and so there had to be excavation in addition to pile driving, and that added a substantial amount of cost. And there was also some regulatory issues vis-a-vis the Department of Labor that added cost to the matter.
Okay, so is this project not completed?
It's near complete. We have a punch list now. It's almost wrapped up. But in the final change order, we're going to owe the contractor. I think it's about $300,000. That's probably $284,000.
That contractor will be Centaur Construction.
That's correct.
And Mr. Mike Roy, you're here with Centaur Construction, sir?
Yes, I am.
Okay, can you maybe come up and elaborate a little bit on this issue? I'm just trying to get a quick picture because I'm not understanding where we're at fault if we hired someone to perform this work. Is that correct? We did hire someone to perform this work?
What happened is we may have a claim potentially against people, but I'd rather not discuss that here because that might be litigated.
And wait 1 second, Mr. Ward. Can we recoup these funds
It's possible.
potentially?
It's possible. Not guaranteed, obviously.
Okay.
Good evening.
I'm sorry for making you sit here, so I didn't even
Not a
know
problem.
who was in the audience. Is this something that your firm was responsible for, or?
We were the low bidder and performed the construction at the site. The majority of the cost overruns were affiliated with unforeseen conditions and conditions that weren't clearly represented in the specifications.
Okay.
Once we got into the project, it caused a change in scope and duration, which led to damages for our company.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Mr. Chukas, do you agree with all that's been said here, and is this your take on the matter? I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. I'm just trying to make sure that we are making the right decision here. This is not $30,000 or $10,000. This is, over $250,000. I mean, almost, $250,000. It's a lot of money.
Well, good evening. The first claim that the change order was already signed on was for the Department of Labor. They had the rate it was vacant at, so we had to follow certain wages for certain employees of the contractor, and just that alone is $87,000. So the settlement that was made with our legal department and the construction with Centaur's legal was for $200,000. So they did negotiate some of these findings. There was liquidated damages that were associated with that, additional time. So there was some negotiation done by them. I can agree to it for the $200,000. It could have been more. Now, if who's going to be held accountable for that is still up in the air.
But we are going to seek to try to recoup these funds, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Yes, I agree with Ms. Williams. This is not a small amount of money. $300,000 is a lot of money, especially at this juncture of the deal. But my question would be to finance. In this designated account, what's our balance?
Right now, it's 1.6, almost 1.7, it's 1,692.
Okay, thank you. Again, this is a bunch of money. Okay, I'm done.
Mr. Shane, somebody, Ford,
You don't need to.
you have any comments?
No, sir.
Sir?
Yes, in the explanation of the overcost runs, the Davis-Bacon Act was mentioned as far as wages. Was that specified in the specs when the project was bid?
Yes, sir. Yes, Councilman Russo, there was a characterization of the work issue, and a worker complained to the Department of Labor that they were being mischaracterized based upon the nature of the work, and that recategorization caused a prevailing wage change, which was way above what it had initially been. And so that a change in the prevailing wage and the designation of work is where the 80, I think it was 84 or $87,000 difference came in. The other bits had to do with the soil conditions.
So we are taking responsibility for not following the specs?
Well, the problem is that our agent wrote the specs on our behalf, and we let the job out. So as the owner, we were going to have paid that anyway if it had been properly designated. And so that the labor cost is what the labor cost was going to be, and the feds make you pay the prevailing wage. And so we would have had to pay that if we had done it correctly anyway. So what happened, it was just mishandled on the front end.
When the project was bid?
It was, yes, sir. That I don't remember. I'll have to look. Yeah, I don't believe it was lump sum. I think this was within, it was a periodic payment system on that one. But I don't know, Ken may know that answer.
In other words, my question, I guess, is this. We accepted the low bid?
Yes, well, yeah, we had an engineer who drew up the specs, and we accepted the low bid, yes, sir.
And so, because of the mischaracterization, we are accepting the responsibility of the $84,000. Let me move on to the second question. On the geotech, we had a geotech company involved?
Yes.
And we did saw bore?
Yes.
And the geotech company recommended the piles and the locations?
I believe that's correct, yes, sir.
So we're taking the responsibility for that as well?
Vis-a-vis we're taking responsibility vis-a-vis in this contract because it's done, but that doesn't necessarily mean that we're ultimately going to eat all of the price. We're going to eat it now and then disgorge, make somebody else have to deal with the issue later. So we're going to make somebody else pay the bill after we eat it. That's the goal. I mean, what happened is we had a bad situation. This was supposed to have been, usually these kind of contracts and these sort of grants are done by Pan American Forests, and for whatever reason, we did it in-house and it didn't work out as well as it should have. I don't know.
I just asked the total cost of the project.
Sounds like it was around 1.9 million. That includes the changes.
So the change order is more than 10%?
It was as you recall, or may not recall, we had the DWF leased the property from us for $750,000, and we also had CDBG money, which paid for the remaining balance of that. I believe they came up to around 1.6. So with these changes, it's going to be around 1.9. So of the 1.6, that's all been 100% paid for by CDBG and DWF. Okay, but the 300,000 is what we don't have the funds for. That's why we're here.
And neither one of those grant sources would come up with the extra money?
No, sir.
Because of what reason did they say? Did we ask?
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so Shane, so what you've said really brings a couple questions up to me and some concerns, which is probably going to lead me to either abstain from this vote or a vote no for it, because it looks like there's a potential that the contractor may have made some errors, in which then...
This contractor didn't.
Okay, well, I'll ask you to do this. I'll ask you to be cautious of what is said on the record, because you probably have to litigate. You guys like to litigate. This is one I think you might need to litigate. So, it's not a shot. I mean, you guys like to litigate, really. But, go ahead and litigate this one, but just watch what you say on the record, because I think there are some issues, but I really don't think I can support this expenditure of appropriation of this amount of money, because I think there's some serious issues, right?
Right. Well, Centaur's already sued us and say but because it was still, it's not closed out, we were able to administratively adjust the change orders. Now, that litigation will of course continue, and there's going to be a lot of issues that will be complicated. It may not be to our advantage, so we could make Centaur stop suing us if we pay.
Okay, well then is it possible then, if Ms. Williams defers this at this time, since Centaur has sued us and we have that litigation pending, put it on executive session, discuss this with us in executive session, and then come back to it?
I mean, it's certainly possible. I'm not sure that they'll be happy with that, but I mean, the principal's here, so.
No, I mean, I understand. But you're asking us to appropriate $300,000 when we have no idea about the case. I don't think we've discussed this case in executive session.
We didn't, I don't believe. Well, wait, we may have once. I don't remember.
No, so that's what I'm saying. It's tough for me, and no disrespect to the principal from Centaur, but to appropriate funds on a matter that you guys have litigated and ask to appropriate to make them satisfied, I think it's something that we probably should address in executive session. Is that, Mr. Garrett, not something that should be appropriate?
Well, I mean, look, I'm certainly happy to speak with y'all in executive session about it, and I guess at this point it's a prerogative of the council. So if y'all would prefer to do it, defer it, and have it on the agenda for next time, I'm certainly happy to do that.
I'd like to get either a recommendation from our special counsel, or if the president has an opinion on this. I mean,
I'd just like to clarify the record, Councilman Black. This administration has not filed one lawsuit yet.
Got it. Mr.
This call has a move and second, so that's the end of the discussion unless someone else wants to. So it has been deferred. Next item, please. At 6B.
An ordinance authorizing an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Changes. I would like to change, if you look on the original ordinance, I want to change line 14, strike firefighting general, and replace it with waterworks dash billing slash collections. Strike one fire lieutenant and replace it with one meter reader. Strike 470-7170 and add 690-2571-01. Repeat. Strike firefighting general, one fire lieutenant, 470-7170, and replace it with waterworks billing slash collections, one meter reader, 690-2571-01.
Ms. Williams, you second? Okay. All right, Ms. Williams? Got Mr. Russell?
So, by doing this, how many meter readers are we going to have now? Well, I've heard 5, 4, 6, and 7. This will be the 7th one?
All right.
Yes, this will be, this actually will then we'll have 3 vacancies that will be posted to be hired. She currently has, well, this is for the one that's resigning. So yes, it will give them 7 once all these 3 vacancies are filled. Exactly what they requested.
I hope they can go back to Mr. Jennings' house and read his meter with all of these reader meters.
Good. Thank you. Audience, any questions? Machine is open. Passes 9-0.
Thank you.
Deferred. D, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 general fund manpower structure and operating expenditure budget, drainage stock shop department, and to authorize an emergency exception to the hiring freeze currently enacted on all vacant positions of Plaquemines Parish government and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
With the changes, everybody have changes? Huh? I have, Charlie. Ben. You have one?
These changes are different from last time.
Yeah. Would you please read the changes?
Okay, the changes are on section 2, line 21, we're changing the dollar amount from $137,340 to $77,210. On line 27 for salary and wages, we're changing from $864,630 to $46,200. On line 28, FICA taxes changing from $1,260 to $700. On line 30, retirement changing it from $10,990 to $6,020. And on line 31, changing group health insurance from $40,460 to $24,290.
deferred. E is deferred also.
E is deferred also. F, please. Mr. Councilman Payne, we'll move to F.
An ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to dismiss with prejudice the following matters. Number one, Palatis Parish Government versus Doug Keith Hinckley et al., docket number 63-277, Division A, 25th Judicial District Court in the Parish of Plaquemine, State of Louisiana. Number two, Plaquemines Parish Government versus Emmett Burris, Daniel Scott et al., docket number 63-276, Division A, 25th Judicial District Court for the Parish of Plaquemine, State of Louisiana. Number three, Plaquemines Parish Government versus Byron Williams et al., docket number 63-278, Division B, 25th Judicial District Court for the Parish of Plaquemine, State of Louisiana. And number four, Plaquemines Parish Government versus Daniel Scott Logan Lott et al., docket number 63-275, Division B, 25th Judicial District Court for the Parish of Plaquemine, State of Louisiana. Councilmember Lapine.
Second. You offer? Councilman Lapine, seconds. Councilman Lapine. Oh, sorry, Mr. Cue yourself back in, Lapine. Ben, you got to cue yourself back.
This has been on the agenda for a couple months. I'm just trying to clean up the agenda once and for all. I think this is a waste of time, energy, and money. I'd like to move forward on it, up or down. And if there's anything the legal department wants to comment on, glad to hear. But other than that, we'll move forward.
Sal?
Waiting on an answer from the legal department.
My biggest concern would be anything I say. Several of the attorneys involved in these matters have a habit of quoting everything I say and putting it in motion, and I see it in court next week. So I would actually be, I think, doing a disservice if I commented on too much publicly. So if you want to put it on an executive session, I'd be happy to discuss it, but I don't think that it would be proper for me to say much in public, just because it seems to be used against me every time I make a comment. So,
Well, let me ask you this. Can you say you recommend the passage of this or the failure of this?
well, I'll put it this way. I'm happy to do whatever the will of this body is. I've asked this group for money, and I've tried to reform the legal department. I've been handling most of this in-house, not sending it out and spending other money, but handling it with the budget and the attorneys that we already have. So I think that if the council wants to proceed with this, I'm happy to do so, and I can do it, I think, primarily in-house where it will not cost us any more money. So I'm more than willing to do that if that's what y'all want me to do. I'm happy to lighten our load and not do this, but whatever is the decision of the council.
No, I mean, I didn't really get an answer there, but...
Well, if you ask me ethically, do I believe there's a valid cause of action in these cases? Yes, there's a valid cause of action in these cases. I have every bit of belief that we are in good faith in proceeding with them, and I'm delighted to go forward because Mr. Black says I like to litigate. So if that's what we need to do, and that's what y'all want me to do, I'm happy to do so. I will tell you this much. That said, I had a problem in that I tried to dismiss one after getting certain directions, I thought, from a vote of this group previously, and the judge would not let me dismiss it without prejudice, which could open us up to legal ramifications that go beyond, I think, what's being discussed here. So that said, I don't think ethically I have a problem going forward. I have an ethics problem in not going forward and just dismissing them haphazardly. Let's put it that way. And I tried to do it that way, and it was resoundingly rejected by the attorney for the other parties. It could have been dismissed, and he didn't want to have it done unless it was done with prejudice, which would have exposed his body, so I did not do it. So I've tried to do it the easy way, and it didn't work, so I'm back to litigating.
Yeah, Peter, thank you. I'm not going to get really in too much detail involving the cases. I know you guys inherited these cases. It's been very clear. I will ask a couple questions based on some of the comments you made. One of them would be that the question was by Mr. Russo about the funding. You made the comment. You've also made the comment to me a few times in this whole council that you guys can handle this in-house.
Yes.
But you guys have continued to use outside counsel, which I have a serious problem with. I think, I've been very clear about that, about the use of outside counsel. So I will put you on the spot a little bit, Peter.
Sure.
I apologize, but do you have the authority as the parish attorney to not retain outside counsel for these cases and make your own decision based on whether or not you can do it in-house, with you and the legal staff that's been appointed to you?
Well, let me just answer this by saying I've got 10 bosses here. And so my answer would be there are certain issues in certain cases where I need outside counsel because there's potential conflicts. And for an ethical standpoint, as a lawyer, I have to have potentially sometimes a separate lawyer. Okay? To that extent, I have, because of the budget restraints and what I've inherited in trying to keep the legal department functioning, I actually will tell you it's my intention to use as little of an outside counsel as I have to, and I think we've discussed that before, and we're having an environmental cleanup issue. I've used one specialist, and with the exception of where we have to have a separate party, I've avoided it.
But you do, so just to kind of clarify this, this council has given you funding. I actually introduced the ordinance to fund counsel who would not be conflicted out because he is on a contract now.
That's correct.
Which is a very capable attorney who came from the Attorney General's office, who would probably be well suited for this. So he is on your staff. You have control of him.
Yes.
So why would we need any additional outside counsel?
Well, I don't really think I do.
Okay, so
moving in that direction.
If I decided to go ahead and either abstain from this vote or a vote no, based on your recommendation that some of these cases have merit,
yes,
is it your goal, and will you then only utilize the counsel, and when I say counsel, not CIL counsel,
yes,
but just to clarify, utilize that counsel that you have control of within your own department?
Yes, sir. That's what I'm trying to do.
I know you're trying to do it, but
well, and what's happened is, just without going into too much detail with it, once again, there are certain motions, there are certain things that were set that I will just use the word Mr. Barnett was involved in. I've been trying to take the files back from Mr. Barnett and to take over all the control and to handle all the litigation of those issues. So it's just some things that he already had set. I can't just walk in and say, I'm here, bye-bye. We're in the process of taking him out of it.
Right. Okay, and I disagree with you on that because I have been lectured with a lot of these people in this council has been lectured repeatedly on the power of the parish attorney per this charter.
Yes, sir.
So I think you do have that authority.
Well, I have the authority. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying from the perspective of litigating the case, I ethically have a duty to make sure that it's prepared, that it's done in a proper way, in which is just not exposing my client, i.e. the parish government and this council, to anything that would be not properly staffed or covered.
I would say, though, that the parish council is not your client in this matter. I think we've withdrawn that, a couple weeks ago. So do I have your word that you are going to proceed with this with the staff that you have, i.e., whether it be Shane, yourself, Mr. Burmaster, or Mr. Culver?
Yes, sir. We have some hearings that are set next week that I will be at, and I intend to take control of those files. But I will tell you, I will have to have things are set that I did not file, that I did not prepare, and that I need the assistance of Mr. Barnett, who did do that. And so my comment to you would be, there's another provision here where I'm asking for money, so I will just flat out tell you, yes, that is what I intend to do. I don't have the money to pay him.
We know that. And so I will not vote to appropriate any money for any other outside counsel. I think we've given you, you've asked for counsel.
Well, it's actually not given you that. It's not for the guys that work for me. There's more money in there that is for outside counsel that did work before I was even here. Some of it's outstanding bills that have been sitting out there for quite some time.
Right, and those ordinances will be amended to state specifically what that's for. I can't give you a blank check anymore. I can't vote to give legal services general, professional services, just a blank check for you guys to go spend, because you've spent over $300,000 on outside counsel for these particular cases on this item, which I think is absurd.
Well, I didn't do it. So
I know you didn't. So I'm gonna take you at your word, and it's you know how I feel about it.
I appreciate your trust in me. I've tried to represent everything as positively as I can, honestly, and I just want to make sure I'm not misleading you when I say there are some things set next week for hearing that
Give me a timeline on him.
Probably the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
I'm hoping to have him out of everything involving these 4 suits probably in the next week, maybe 2 weeks. So.
All right, you guarantee me that? Then I'll abstain from this.
Yes, sir.
All right.
As long as my boss doesn't beat me.
No. So, he can beat you all you want. You got the authority.
I'm a little bit surprised, Councilman Black, that you'd use the services of the parish attorney. You generally defer to special counsel that you pay additional funding for. But I please, by all means, I appreciate the vote. You were elected to vote, and I appreciate the vote.
The vote to dismiss him?
The vote to vote your conscience.
The reason why I have to abstain in one matter is I'm not familiar with any of the cases. I've asked repeatedly, and I don't want to bring up this items that were discussed in executive session, but I've asked repeatedly for information regarding these cases, and I haven't been provided with them. I asked at a council meeting probably about 3 months ago on the record that I want all the files so I can review the evidence on these cases provided to my office. I was not. What Mr. Barnett provided to every council member was copies of the filings. I don't want copies of what was filed, the different motions, etc. I wanted actual evidence. I haven't been provided with that. So I'm not sure what these cases even entail. That's why I have to abstain, because I'm not sure if they hold merit or not. I'm taking Peter's opinion as the parish attorney that they do hold merit, because I don't believe the other guy. So, and I'm asking him, because I have confidence in him and his staff, to take these cases on, and if they don't hold merit, I'm sure Peter will dismiss them. So, that's all I'm saying. So my conscience is pretty clear. I haven't seen anything.
Councilman, I will say this. I'd be happy to do whenever you want to set something up. I'd be happy to go through it.
Look, I asked 3 months ago for all that information, and I wasn't provided with it. So I'm at wit's end with it. We've spent over $300,000. You know, I think that's an absurd amount. And you know my reservations I have. So I take at your word what you said. I'll vote my conscience, Mr. President. Thank you. That's all I have.
Peter, I appreciate your comments. You did make a statement, though, that I caught, that you would continue the wish of this council if we voted, we were successful today to vote these dismissal. Would, I have a little heartburn with that, because when you said you're going to take it over, say you're going to do in-house, and Mr. Barnett is here today, not now, but he was here today. So are we continually still getting billed by him because his presence here? I heard you say you're going to phase him out. I heard you say you're going to do it in-house. But I continue to see him pop up, and I continue to see him. He's not here now, but he was here. Okay? So we're going to get a bill somehow. So I can't, I hate to use this strong word, but trust. But I'm trying to navigate through this complete disorder of the legal system. So that's why I have done this for 7 weeks. And I've sat and I've tried to wait and I deferred. But now I want to move forward today. I want to move forward. Now, if it's our wish and the vote's there, I guess my next question would be to Mr. Cormier. Would he veto this, or does he stand with you?
The ordinance will speak for itself. It will be a legal act. That's a good question, Councilman Levine, because I haven't looked at it from that angle. But it would be law.
That's all I have.
Can I just say one thing? Let me just say this, Councilman Levine. You would lighten my load significantly if this was passed. But at the same time, I cannot help but feel, and I'm probably going to get kicked from this side of the table, but I still feel, as a lawyer, I feel ethically bound to protect the parish's interest. And my fear is that, and I'll just tell you, I have flat out tried to settle most of these cases and tried to very reasonably approach them, which was rebuffed, because I feel as though the other side thinks that this ordinance will be granted and they're just going to get to come back at us. And that leaves me fearful for the best interest of the parish, just because we didn't file these suits. I inherited these, and I know Mr. Russell didn't like me to say that, but when I'm forced to defend myself on this, I will just say I'm making the best of what I got, what I inherited. And so when you ask the question in that way, yeah, it would lighten my load. I don't get paid anything extra for handling these cases. But I think I would be remiss, and I think I would be bothered, my conscience would be bothered if I said that, because I don't want to just walk in and expose the parish legally if we just rashly walk in and dismiss these things. And so that's why I feel compelled to say that. I mean, it'd be easy for me to just sit here and keep my mouth shut and not say anything, and it would lighten my workload. But I just don't know if it's in our best interest.
Sullivan.
Mr. Barber, I have every confidence in you, all confidence in you, that what you've shown me indicates quite the contrary, that these cases does have merit. So, I mean, I'm with you, vote your conscience. You know, it is what it is, you know, but I would just like to say, in lieu of everything that has been said here earlier, that once Mr. Barnett goes away, then what's going to be the issue? Then what would be the issue then? You know, so I would just encourage everybody to vote their conscience. And again, I think what I've seen and what I've heard, I think the cases does have merit. And I'm done.
One more, and we'll wrap this up. I'm gonna call the vote. But you keep making the statement you inherit these lawsuits. Well, who filed these lawsuits?
Previous administration.
Previous administration.
Yes, sir.
So the government part of the administration filed them,
Yes.
but you inherited them.
Yes.
Okay.
And let me just, if I may, you understand, there's a wide range in the way things are pled. People would craft a lawsuit, the way in which you would go at certain things. And the reason I say it is the whole strategy of the case, the whole way in which you would go about presenting it may be different from lawyer to lawyer. And what I'm saying is, I've inherited a set of pleadings and a case theory that I may or may not have argued it that way. And so it's kind of it's not an easy answer, because while I can file this suit and it interrupts these prescriptive periods and involves these parties on this alleged cause of action, but how I plead it can be very different, and they're both not necessarily right or wrong, but they're just stylistically how you would approach it and how you would present your case. So when I say inherited, it's not just saying there is a case or there isn't a case. I just would have say that I would tend to present things differently. I like to put a lot more in my pleadings. I like to have a lot more facts, and I would have approached it slightly, and I think in a different way. But that doesn't mean they're in the case. It just means I'm now having to fill in when I didn't do those pleadings. I don't know exactly what was the mindset, so it makes it difficult to follow up on somebody else's work.
Well, I see a couple of my colleagues want to call a vote, but I'm going to afford them the opportunity to speak.
Yeah, just one more question, Peter. Just because I want to be totally clear and very certain on this. Would you recommend any changes to this ordinance or amendments that would, are there cases in here that you would say, look, guys, I think you could probably take this one out, or just, let me go forward with a couple of, I don't know. Are there any amendments to the ordinance that you would recommend?
If you take out the words "with prejudice," that would be the biggest fear, because that's what's opening the door to retribution, to suits against us, and legal exposure. And so by dismissing with prejudice, I'm now opening ourselves up to having to explain why we did certain things, when in fact I think we have valid lawsuits that could go forward. Most of them have already survived motions for summary judgment, so they're recognized as valid lawsuits. So to walk in and just dismiss them with prejudice doesn't make any sense. If there's any one simple answer, is just taking out prejudice. That amendment alone would take the gun away from my head, so I'm not left exposing the parish.
Okay, what if it was amended? Because I'm not sure you can just take out with prejudice or change it from with to without prejudice without changing the ordinance. What if it says in a preamble, and that's some debate on that too, but what if the option was put in there, an ordinance authorizing and directing the parish president to dismiss at their discretion with or without prejudice? That way it gives you the discretion whether you want to dismiss it with or without.
That would certainly be very helpful from my perspective.
Because that way it still gives you the option to go with.
Yes, correct.
And if you want to go with, you go with. If not, you go without.
Look, that would be fantastic, because that would... So...
Yeah, I mean, you can add a couple things in here. That's why I didn't like the ordinance to begin with. I mean, because it's very blunt.
Well, it ties my hands, so I wouldn't have any ability to control or craft.
I'd be willing to vote on it if it gives you some options. If you amended it, however you want an amendment to dismiss at the discretion of the parish attorney with or without prejudice.
That would be fine.
Yeah, that's the only way I would vote on it.
That I can look anybody in the eye and say that protects, I think, the parish government from exposure. So if you want to give me that would make it much more doable from the perspective.
That would be my request, Mr. Lepine, if you need me to vote on this.
Gino?
Yes, Mr. Bowman,
Yes, sir.
since you've been here, we have trust and integrity. You showed everything, and I believe in you.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Lepine? You next. You finished?
I'm going to give Mr. Russo. Okay. A vote yes means to kill the lawsuit, a vote no means to continue the lawsuit. I'll call the question.
Question has been called. The machine is open. The vote yes is to, what you said, Mr. Lepine? Yes is to kill it, no is to...
I want to clarify that. No is not to continue. That's not what no vote is.
No vote is to kill the ordinance, resolution, ordinance. Is that? The yes vote is to approve the legislation before us.
Correct.
A no vote is to deny. All right? That's the vote. So vote yea, but no, yes, nay, yes, nay. Go vote. The red button is no, the green button is yes. The sheet is open. It fails. 2 yeas, 4 nays, 3 abstentions. Next item, please.
A resolution renaming Hunter's
G is deferred. H is deferred. I.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 firefighting fund operating expenditure budget, firefighting departments and ambulance department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Deferred. Next item.
An ordinance to amend the Plaquemines Parish Code of Ordinances to include District 1 within the enforcement jurisdiction of the Health Department for the purpose of abating blighted vehicles. Councilmember Bartholomew.
Deferred.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Public Health Fund operating expenditure budget, Health Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Still a second? Yes. Is there a second? Offer for, Mr. Burt, second for discussion only. Mr. Burt?
I think Raymond was here earlier. Designated DP settlement fund. I can't vote for this, that funding source, but I do support the industry, but it would have to come from a different funding source.
What do you say?
I'm going to withdraw my second, yes.
Is there a second? It dies for lack of a second. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 Public Health Fund operating expenditure budget, Mosquito Control Department, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Bartholomew.
I offer. Is there a second? Is there a second? Is there a second? It dies for a lack of a second. Next, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 General Fund operating expenditure budget, Legal Services Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Offer. That's read. Is there a second? Second.
I'm second for the purpose of discussion.
Mr. Roussel, second for discussion. Mr. Roussel.
Yes, I know that these are obligations that have already been encumbered,
Yes, sir.
and so we owe this, I know in one case, probably 150. The source for me is the BP Settlement Fund. I would, Mr. Black, you have some language that you would like to add if we move this funding to the unreserved undesignated fund balance to pay the firm that we already owe and delete the general?
Yeah, Mr. Russo, I'm not prepared to do that today.
Okay with that? With that said, I'd like to, on line 10, delete from the BP settlement and unreserved undesignated fund balance, and scratch the 250 and make it 150 on line 10, and on line 18, delete the entirety of the line, change line 17 from 200 to 150. And with that, I'll offer that amendment, and I would caution the legal department and the administration not to encumber any more funds without an appropriation?
I'll second that amendment. Mr. Russell, any comments?
Mr. Russo, did you just want to make changes and not have an amendment to vote on separately from the
Or if you
ordinance?
want, it's not,
All right,
if he wants to offer it with changes,
okay, we'll offer with the changes, please.
Thank you.
I'll second it.
Mr. Russell, second. Mr. Russell, comments?
I would yield to Mr. Black for additional comments or amendment.
Councilman Black?
Yeah, I just want to clarify a couple things. So you're omitting or removing object 531.001, legal support general, 50,000, that's being removed entirely from the ordinance? Yes?
Yes, but I gotta get cued in. You gotta play fingers here.
All right.
I'm sorry.
I can support that, but I will definitely caution, not caution, I don't want to say it like that, but the 150,000 that's going to be appropriated if this passes is only for payment to Berglass and Tankersley.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I think any other appropriation or use of those funds other than that of Berglass and Tankersley would obviously be, you know what.
I understand.
All right, I just want to make sure I'm a vote to give you money, pay for these guys.
I appreciate it.
All right.
I'll send you a copy of the check.
All right, I don't need a copy. I trust you, Peter. Thank you.
Question from audience? Sheet is on. That's it. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
An ordinance to amend the 2017 operating expenditure budget to fund the cost of repair and continued maintenance of the Mississippi River levee near and within the parameter of the Phillips 66 refinery and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Trufant Salvan.
Solomon, all first, the second. Deferred. Solomon deferred.
A resolution to rescind, annul, and set aside resolution number 15-413 assigning office space in Building 100 to the Library Administration Department and Buildings Department, assigning office space to the Library Administration Department in Building 203, assigning office space to the Buildings Department in Building 600, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Yes, ma'am. This is basically after consulting with Director Giles of Public Service and some other council members to relocate the Library Administration Department and the Buildings Department out of Building 100 to vacate that space to make adequate enough space for the administration to move in. So we're going to move the library department into this building and then move the buildings department to building 600 to fill the vacancy that's going to be provided when civil service moves out.
The second.
The other second of Cole.
Okay. Ms. Williams, you have a comment?
No, I'm just seconding.
Any comments from audience? Scene is open. Passes 9-0. Next item, please.
A resolution assigning office space in the Belle Chase Government Complex on Adair Boulevard, Building 203, Belle Chase, Louisiana, to the Water Department and otherwise provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Black.
Yes, this is moving the water department from the pretty dilapidated facility they have on Main Street. That way we can use that property for the expansion of the water treatment facility and the waterworks department, and put all the building into this building and building 203. We have adequate space to do that. It's going to be obviously a big step up from where they're at now, and have a first-class facility for our constituents to come address the many issues with water billing and pay their bills. Hopefully not estimated ones, but that's all.
Mr. Russell?
No, I concur. We'll give them a nice place to come pay them big water bills.
Oh, man, that was it. Any comments from the audience?
Yeah. Are you planning on sending any kind of notice, public notice out to the people, let them know that the new?
It would be my recommendation that the water department, the next batch of water bills that they print, to have it on every water bill, to be able to let them know the new location. That would be my recommendation to the administration, to put that in there, among other things.
Go ahead.
Councilmember Black, I thank you, Mr. Henry, for bringing that up. I would simply request that we, this council, along with this resolution, budget some money to send out a public notice in the mail to everyone, notifying them that even though for decades they've been paying their water bill one spot, we're going to be moving it. If this council is so inclined to vote with this resolution. Simply a mail-out notice to every customer. I think it's only fair, given that for decades they've been paying their water bill in one location. Give them an opportunity via mail, just regular first-class priority mail, an opportunity to notify them that the location will be moved. Because I can foresee, as Mr. Henry noted, and thank you for noting that, Mr. Henry, there's going to be confusion whenever you move something for the general public, especially where they pay bills, and you can have bills that are going to be paid late, or you're going to have, it could cause Ms. Angela some issues, and principally, it could cause our customers, the residents, some issues if we don't send them something in the mail to notify them. We'll put something on the website on our end, but we have many elderly customers that have for decades been paying their bills in the same location. If you move it, I would simply request, if this council so is inclined to move it, that you also appropriate some money to send a mail out notifying all of the residents that the place to pay your water bill will be moving.
Comment from the audience?
Yeah, thank you for that, Mr. President. I mean, one recommendation would be if Peter could post something on Facebook. I'm sure every resident of the parish would know about it within 24 hours. I'm joking, Mr. Henry. That's a joke. Look, no, I would say, I don't think this move obviously is going to happen very quickly. I think there's some modifications that need to be made to the room. I wouldn't mind getting together with Director Giles if you want, and coming up with some type of plan. I'm not sure if mail-outs is the way to go, but I would be open to having that discussion. Since it is my resolution, I will avail my time to help out Director Giles with a plan to notify constituents.
Thank you, Councilman Black. And like I said, all jokes aside, my concern is for our elderly residents, because they do not get on the internet. They're not as mobile as some of the younger residents, and this is going to cause confusion because they've been going for decades to the same spot. So I think, especially with the elderly residents, at least one mailing, which wouldn't be that much, first-class mail, doesn't have to be certified, but at least one mailing. And I think that would greatly help in notifying our residents that they're going to have to go